be leading a small group for screenwriting this semester. I think you said on Saturdays, right?
I'm still figuring out with the group what days work best for them, if it would be like a Friday or a Saturday, because James has his things on the weekends, his gigs.
Okay.
And so maybe Friday would work best, but then I have to see with everyone else.
Right.
Because I think Raphael said Friday too, if I'm not mistaken, but like, I'd have to check. But the more people figure it out, the better. So if you guys want to participate, we can vote and see. And like I was trying to explain in the group, it's gonna be, yes, we're gonna be learning, and you guys will let me know like, oh, it would be cool if we learned more about this, or I think it would really help me if we learn more about this, and I would look for the resources and the information for that, and we would work on that. But also I want it to be a space where we can just write and brainstorm and have fun with it, and help each other out, give constructive criticism, a little less informal than this group, than the main group, but still learning, So if anyone's interested, let me know and I'll add you to the group.
Okay, will do.
Yeah, like so if you guys have time or whatever, that's like just a side thing for the people that want to learn screenwriting still. But anyway, I think let's move on. I do think that this semester will help you though, James Welch. Was it Welch or Welsh?
Welch. Yeah, thanks.
Okay, because there's two James, so I'm just going to call you guys by your last names. So I think this semester will help you because it has a lot of things on cinematography, and cinematography, like we learned this week, is a lot of telling a story through picture. So it's like the movement of the camera is, you should never move it without motivation. You should always move it because there's some kind of emotion that you're wanting to portray, or there's some kind of angle you want to do to make a character look taller or shorter or seem less or more significant. And so I think learning about all that stuff would really help while you're writing the script, because you can kind of picture it in your head as you write it, like how it would go about in the scene. And that might help for you to keep your story kind of more to your, like what you originally entailed it to be, by knowing how to make it easily easily convert into a film, pretty much. That's what I'm trying to say. Gotcha. I'm gonna share my screen real quick. So like one of the things we were learning, I don't know who was able to actually study.
I was gonna say, I was gonna push some of you guys' ears, because a lot of you didn't check anything, did you?
I did.
See, we got one person. Yay! No. No, it was a lot. It was a lot. And if some of you have noticed that, I'm proud of you, Brent. Thank you. Some of you noticed that a lot of it was the same information in different ways. It's just because people learn in different ways, and sometimes one explanation works better for one than another. And so we didn't filter as much this semester, because we wanted to see like the different styles that work for you guys. Next semester, I'll filter them out a little more. But since there were so many, now don't get used to this, but I will send a few of the ones that I think are essential and my favorites this weekend. But don't get used to it, because I'm not going to be giving you guys a cheat sheet of the syllabus. It's just some that I thought were really important. And because there were so many videos, sometimes we're like, okay, I think I know everything. And then in another video, there's like, oh, most of it was similar, but there was this one thing that was super interesting. Or in this article, there was this super important part that I thought was very crucial. So I will be sending those. And if you guys want to, you can take a look at that.
Yeah.
I wanted to mock you guys for a few minutes. I'm done now.
Okay, so we learned about a lot of different shots, and these are a few of the ones that they showed, but there's also more than this, like the establishing shot. The establishing shot establishes the scene. It's usually a very long shot, like this extreme long shot at the top left. And and that shows the location. It shows where your actors are in the scene. It shows how far away they are from each other. And it gives you kind of a overall perspective of where everything's taking place. And then you have like the very long shot. And if you look in the middle at the top, you see like it shows the person, but they're very small in the scene. It's also to show the setting a little bit, how far they are from each other, but it can also be used emotionally to show like how insignificant they are or how alone they may be because the rest of the scene is empty. So maybe this is, if it was a scene about something being sad and lonely, maybe you show a very long shot of them like that, and it kind of portrays that message in an emotional, psychological sense.
Oh, I looked in the chat. Apparently a lot of you did. I'm proud of you. I really am.
Oh, thanks, Pat.
The
The-
ones that entered
the-
later
the
actually did
information.
read it. So yay.
Yeah, we also looked at the call sheet. I'll talk about that in a minute. I was just going to go over a few of the shots and then a few of the other things we learned and ask anybody if they know anything that was left out. They said the long shot, that's from below somebody's feet to above their head. It shows their entire body. It could be for movement. A lot of action scenes show that for like if they're running or fighting kung fu style or any kind of fighting, I guess. They show a long shot. There's a medium long shot. That's actually that one. It looks more like what they called a medium full shot, or it's also known as a cowboy shot because it goes like right below her knee, like right around her chest area. And that's to show off, like in a cowboy scene, it would be to show where their gun holster is. So you see if they're getting ready to pull their weapon out and shoot.
From the
And
waist
it's known
up.
as the cowboy shot or the medium full shot. And then you go even closer and you go into the mid shot or the medium shot. And that's about from the chest up, and you leave a little bit of space above their head. And then you go to the medium close up, which is a little bit more intimate, a little bit more, we're closer to the character, see more of their emotion. And that's about from like right about above the chest to above the head. And then they said they go to a close up on here, which is about, close up is, it was like very different for each person that talked about it. They showed a different thing, a different scene that they said was a close-up. And from what I can tell, most of them agree that it's probably like below the head, like right under the chin, kind of like this, but also above the head. It doesn't cut off the head like in this picture right here. At least not from most of the ones that most of the resources that we were looking at. And then
Oh, I should have taken screenshots of the videos themselves because I think they gave really good examples.
yeah,
I
there's
might do
like
that this
movies,
weekend.
There's kind of a bunch of movies and how they portray emotion as they go throughout a scene. And I think like if you guys have time, it really is good to look at that stuff and see like how many things are working at once to show a scene and how emotion is driving the story, or how movement is driving the camera or emotion, or whatever it may be. They go through the things of why cameras move and what makes good cinematography and what makes it just, they don't just do it to look cool, or you shouldn't just do it to look cool.
They do
You
it
should
to
always be motivated by story or character or emotion.
Oh, sorry, what? Someone said something.
the camera angles have a lot to do with showing like to portray a certain emotion of a certain individual or a certain situation in the film, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. They had, for the angles, I don't think I have a picture of that, but we can look at that in a second. But there's like,
You want me to Google it while you talk?
yeah, and then you can share your screen and all.
Yep.
But for the angles, they definitely show, like in some of the videos, they were showing that if you have a high angle, which is like from up above looking down at the character, it makes them look smaller, makes them look more vulnerable or weak. And then if you have a lower angle looking up at them, it makes them look more intimidating or strong or triumphant. And they were showing like a lot of like superhero films will do this with the villain and the good guy, the superhero. Depending on who has the upper hand at the moment, they'll show them with either a low or a high angle to show like them being more or less vulnerable. And like when they're first introducing a villain, they'll usually show them with a low angle so that they look more intimidating, more tall, and take up more of the screen.
Oh, I did. I found the exact one but there's only 6 in here.
Of the
Alright.
pictures?
I found one of the shot list video, which is one of my favorites. And
Oh, you wanted to show the video? I was just gonna show like
no, I wanted to show the picture of all of the shots. Because remember at the end, they have the image of all of the shots and everything.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's what I'm looking at. And I found, but I think there's only 6 of them. I'll send it to you on your messenger. Okay.
Okay. Cool. All right. So back to this on the screen. This big close up, I didn't see that in any of the resources we had in the syllabus, but I did see one that was the same frame, and they called it something else. They called it, what did they call it? A choker shot. And they said that was like right underneath the mouth, as you can see in the middle at the bottom, right underneath the mouth, and then right above the eyebrows. And they call that a choker shot, or I guess a big close up in this instance. And then you have even further in, you call the extreme close up, which is a certain part of the face or a very or an insert shot of a specific item that you want to show, that you want to bring everyone's attention to. It's usually used for like showing somebody's eyes or their mouth or their nose or a certain part of their face as they talk to bring attention to them. And they
I was just talking about that with my client.
of the extreme close up.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, you're talking about
just
like what it is or what do you mean?
Yeah, what it is and what we're going to do that tomorrow for a couple scenes because I'm filming a tattoo artist doing work on me tomorrow.
Oh, okay.
Yep, a little documentary about tattoo artists surviving in this pandemic.
Oh yeah, no, that's cool. But yeah, so and everybody always has like a different, like all these aren't really set in stone depending on who you're talking to. So it's good to always kind of have a reference if you are the one bringing the work to someone else and you're trying to hire a DP or a director of photography. You want to like get on the same page with them about what everything means. So if you're asking like, hey, we need a close up, you both understand, oh, this is what we mean. He wants it from the head up instead of being like, okay, you want this one in the middle, like, because that might mean something different to both of you.
You think it's a good idea to have the DP and the cinematography guy, be the same person?
Yeah, the cinematographer is the.
They are.
Yep, that is the same person.
Just another name for the same thing.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, they call it. There's like a DOP, a DP, director of photography, cinematographer. Those are all the names for the same job.
I know it can get confusing for me too. I was like, wait, okay.
I think the reason they did that is just to separate them from the director a bit. Call them cinematographer instead of calling them director of photography, because then it's like director. So
Gotcha.
I'm not exactly sure the reason.
Honey, I sent you the thing through Facebook.
What was that?
You hear director of photography a lot in television, and you hear cinematography a lot in cinema.
Okay, that makes sense.
I mean, there is no if you are doing a TV show and you put cinema, I don't think anybody's gonna ding you for it or anything. But director of photography usually is in television sitcoms and whatnot.
Brian Booker, you sound far away.
I was
Or
gonna
in a
say you
bubble.
sound like you're underwater.
Oh,
Cool picture though.
Are you doing a COVID op right now?
yeah, I finally figured out how to get my picture on there. I was trying to figure. I was gonna ask you. I was like, everybody's got their picture up there. How do I get mine? But I figured it out.
That's really cool.
I don't even know how I got mine on there, to be honest. It just somehow worked. Somehow it just
From State
happened.
of Media.
Did you just import your account from something else? Because I think Zoom
No.
lets you do that.
No, I just uploaded one of my emojis. I'm like, okay.
I sent it on Messenger, honey, so it should be on your Facebook messages.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
So I was reading the footnotes on the bottom of that picture with all the pictures on it, and it was saying something about the differences between a wide angle lens, a telephoto lens, a normal lens, blah, blah, blah. So
This one? Oh, yeah. So
This
that
one
is
here.
Something we are going to learn.
Oh wait, let him
Oh.
finish.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, go ahead.
I've always kind of learned that you want to zoom with your feet more so than with the camera zoom. But is this referring to switching lenses for each position?
I can.
Yeah, it was
see
showing.
that one.
This was showing the difference between the distance of the girl to the right, like where she's standing, and then what lens she's using. I don't know if you can see it, but it's right in between the two first pictures. It shows like 16 millimeters, these top three, and then 35 millimeter is the second one. 50 millimeter, I mean 85, and then a 200 millimeter.
Because the different lens lengths are going to have a compression to the actual image.
Yeah,
So if you don't want to have a wide depth of field, you're not going to want to really use a really long lens length.
Correct.
So if you want your subject to be in focus, but you don't want somebody standing in the far background that you didn't notice until you went home and looked at it, which is
yeah,
usually what happens to me. I'm going, oh man, where'd they come from?
yeah.
But I mean, that's something to consider when it's easier to use your feet to zoom than it is to use a longer lens on the camera.
Yeah.
Just
So
a
what do you,
plus.
Like,
what he's saying, your feet, he's like talking about dollying and movement and bringing the camera closer to the subject rather than using the lens to bring the subject closer to the shot.
Well, if you have a dolly, you could use a dolly. I'm just talking about using your feet.
Yeah.
It depends on your budget, I suppose.
Oh
But
yeah.
if you don't
my
have a
budget
dolly,
doesn't.
it's good to try to get a steady cam. And if you can't have a steady cam, then like a glide cam would be good to
Yeah.
stabilize the image a bit.
Whatever you got to do to get the camera closer.
I don't know if you guys have ever seen that Instagram video of that guy on roller skates with his camera like strapped to
In
his
New York City, I seen that one.
on
Yeah.
that thing. Like, it made me so scared. Like I was watching that thing, like so afraid
I seen a guy on a bike doing that.
he was
That's
gonna
not-
fall and break that camera. I was so scared.
Yeah, we'll look more into like lenses stuff next week, but it does, as you can see, it does, like he's saying, it does add compression. If you're close to the subject and you're using a wide angle lens, it makes their face get really compressed and scrunched, and her face looks longer, her nose looks bigger. That's the top pictures. And then
Did you
as
not
go
find?
down, it starts decompressing and making her look a little more real, like a 50 millimeter or 35 millimeter. People say look the most realistic to how our eyes see. And then if you go down further, you can see how on the left, the longer the lens, the farther away, and if she's using a 200 millimeter and she's over there, then the background, if you look in the left picture, the bottom left, the background is getting more and more blurred as she's changing the lenses. So if she's using the 16 millimeter and she's in the top left, you can see how the background there's a lot more noise in that picture. You can see the background, you can see the building, you can see the tree, you can see a lot of detail. And you don't always want that. Sometimes you do. A lot of the times, especially in film, you want it to be a little more somewhere in the middle. Not really that drastic to the 200 millimeter always, but definitely not the 16 millimeter. You want it somewhere in the middle where you can see. You want to have more of the thing you want people to pay attention to and focus,
Like a medium
less of the
shot.
background, because otherwise they don't know where to look. So it's a lot.
Yeah, the medium shot is considered the like most used, I believe, in cinema, wasn't it? The medium shot
Yeah, MS.
and
Yep,
the medium
the mid
close up.
shot or the medium shot. They say
The
that
medium
one's
shot and the
most
medium
used
close up.
because
Yeah.
it's like around the eye level, like how we see when we go around in the world too. So like that's how we look at people usually.
So that's how some people be looking fat on camera with one angle or when you use different millimeters. They be looking like they gained 20, 30 pounds.
Honey, did you not find the YouTube thing? I mean, the Facebook
I
thing?
was looking, hold on. This one?
That's why Collins looks so fat
Okay,
at
so
times.
this is the camera angles that she was talking about.
And then there's
So-
another one.
They say that the other most used for the camera angles is the eye level, because when we're talking to people, we look at their eyes. That's the most natural for everybody. Then there's the low angle, like we said, and it makes people look a little more menacing. That's the top right. It makes people look a little more menacing, a little more evil. It can have the effect of making them look taller or like they are in control.
They're intimidating.
You have the high angle. This is almost an aerial shot, but the high angle makes them look small, makes them look vulnerable or little or like they're lesser pretty much. And the higher you go, the smaller they're gonna look. And I feel like once you get to that point, you're kind of doing an aerial shot, but I mean,
I feel like no, because you can, I don't know. I feel like you'd have to be a little farther for an aerial shot, but that's just my opinion. I could be wrong.
yeah, I just like, I don't know, for the comparison from the low and high angle, it's just, I wish they had a little bit closer up of a high angle to show the difference. But anyway, hip level, it's like
The knee level, I
sounds that
think
you record from where the hip is, and it shows that
Oh,
knee
sorry.
level, you bring the camera down to their knee.
Raphael asks, like, do people still use the knee level anymore? He feels like it's uncommon. I feel like now it's more used for specific shots than back in the day. I feel like they would use it more. There are some shots that, for example, the Dutch shot, I forgot the name, but like the one that's like sideways.
Dutch angle?
Dutch angle, yeah. I feel like back in the day, so many movies you overuse that shot, and
Yes.
now it's more like yes, and now it's more,
Yeah, I feel like some of these shots are like I was thinking like the last time I saw that was on like a classic 90s movie or like 70s or something.
Which one?
Mostly the
Clearly
knee level,
someone
but
hasn't
I
seen the
also
first
agree
Thor
with the
movie.
Dutch level.
What was, sorry, what?
The first Thor movie, it is full of Dutch angles. I'm talking Dutch angle after Dutch angle.
It's
It's
annoying.
ridiculous.
maybe that's why
Yeah,
I like
it's
it.
it's
The
because
what?
what I heard is according to the director, he said he thought that the Dutch angle made it look more like a comic book, so he just threw a bunch of Dutch angles in.
I've read a lot of
Is the Dutch
comic
angle
books.
like a like a kind of rectangular shape shot?
I think it was Thor 1, Raphael.
Yeah, the first Thor.
But definitely, like we were watching, I think it was like 12 Monkeys or something, and there were so many freaking Dutch angles in that thing, and it annoyed me to no end. And I was like, holy crap.
Yeah, I feel like it
Do it
needs to be used less.
Sparingly,
Less is better
yeah.
for that kind of angle because it just puts
It's like
culture
a
in,
silhouette shot. It's like they're cool, but then if you overdo them, then they're just like, all right, we get it.
yeah, right. So
Yeah,
like, I feel like that's with most of these, like most of the ones that aren't as natural, I feel like the more you use them, the less impactful they are and the more annoyed your audience is going to get. But that's just me.
And I feel like if you don't use them in a specific way, it's just there. Like it doesn't serve a purpose. And isn't the whole thing that every shot should serve a purpose to like expand the story and make you feel something? Like that's what we've been hearing over and over again.
So Brent, the example of the Dutch shot is actually right here. It shows like how it's not, it's tilting the camera to show that it's all off balance. It's used a lot when people are in a creepy setting and they're like, maybe they're working up in a hospital and the doctor's acting really weird. Sometimes they show that at like a,
Or you're just filming Daniel and it's often,
what was that?
or if you're filming Daniel and it's always a Dutch angle.
I sent it in the WhatsApp for you guys so you guys can have a better look.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Let me see. Let me look it up. If I can find it.
Another shot was like the overhead. I think it was it the overhead or the aerial?
Yeah, it
I
shows it right
always
here,
have to
bottom
say.
left.
Very
Overhead
overused.
is used a lot for showing someone when they're reaching up, talking to God, or they're begging for something, or they're just falling on their knees.
Honey, I sent another image for you as well. Look at the stuff I send you.
Priscilla, you're on the
I was
phone.
trying to show.
Priscilla, you sent it through the book study chat. Send it through the main group.
Oh, I did. What? Dang it.
So-
Sorry.
Oh,
Brent,
I
these
did get
are like
that.
the Dutch angles. You can see how they're like tilted, and it's not showing it. Well, this.
So Red
you go.
Monkey. What's that movie with Bruce Willis? The 12 Monkeys.
This
Yeah,
one right here.
That was the one I was talking about all the
Yes.
freaking time.
That movie was loaded with it.
So it doesn't show
Yes.
it straight on. The Dutch angle tilts the camera, and you can see it in like this especially. It makes them off balance. The room is tilted. It looks like everything's gonna fall to the left.
One example of
Almost
it
like
being done well.
illusionist.
It's supposed to
Mission
make it feel like like unease and like something's not quite right. But in my opinion, overusing it makes it like, okay, I get it. I don't want to see this anymore.
I feel like it was well used in Mission Impossible, for example, at least the one I remember it happening. I feel like it wasn't too like, ooh, it was more just like for dramatic effect. You know
I'm gonna
what I
pick on
mean?
you for now. No.
I'm dizzy type situation. Like, you know that, is it the 360 shot? I don't know which one it is, but the one that like spins around like upside down.
Oh, it's called vertical 360-degree shot, and it's where they go from the bottom of their feet all the way to their head and then back down to their feet.
It gives me vertigo watching that shot. It just makes me dizzy.
Yeah. Anyway, let's see. And then they have for the angles again, back to the angles. They go from the ground level, that'll be like showing somebody's shoes. You have the camera near the ground or on the ground, and you're following maybe somebody's feet, or somebody drops something on the floor and you have a ground level angle to show it splatter on the ground. Then they have shoulder level. The shoulder level is all used as, I think they said that one's one of the most often used, as well as eye level. Those are the two most often used angles because they're the most natural to us. And then Dutch angle, we saw that overhead, and aerial. Aerial would be if you're from really far away, you're filming from a helicopter or a drone shot, those would all be aerial. So anybody have any questions, or does anybody know any angles that aren't on this list?
Dirty shot.
Dirty shot. That would be a shot, not an angle, but I did, yeah. Dirty shot is meaning
I'll
like,
get the pictures of the shots as well.
Technically,
no,
it
but we
It's in the
have
syllabus.
shots where you don't-
High
they
angle,
didn't have that. So
high
what a
level.
dirty shot is technically these shots, they're all of one person, so they're called a single shot. And if we have, let's say, this medium close-up of this girl, and we have a little bit of somebody's elbow or
shoulder.
yeah, their shoulder and part of their head in this left corner of it, that would be called a dirty shot because it's not focusing on that person, it's focusing on her, but there's part of another person in it. So it's a dirty single. And if there's nobody in it like in the picture, then it's a clean single.
So
Because
it's dirty if there's half of a person in there, like another half of like a partial person.
yeah, like it could be
I would
somebody's
say partial,
leg
I would
or
say
somebody's
half.
shoulder or
I would
part
say
of their
quarter
head.
of them.
It's just whatever. If they're not in the focus, then it's called dirty. If they're just somewhere, part of their body's in it.
Yeah,
Okay,
because
that
I
makes
feel like we can't be too specific about it because with our experience watching the movies, watching the explanations people have given, it varies a lot, like how much of the person's body you show from director to
like
director, just like
this
the
would be all
close-up.
stuff that you have to discuss with if you're filming something and you're either the director or the director of photography. You would be discussing with each other what kind of shots you want, and you'd be figuring out what you mean. You'd make a storyboard, which is like a board of all the different pictures that you kind of want the scenes to look like, the different shots in those scenes. And
Different
then,
shots, different angles.
yeah, so you'd go through and you'd make something sort of like this. Like if this was a scene and we start out at an extreme long shot and keep going closer to her, the director and the director of photography would figure out what angles they want to do and how close they'd want to get and what the movement would be.
And what
I'm gonna
frame,
send
right?
you. I'm gonna send you one more. Because I sent you two. I'm gonna send you one more because I think.
Okay.
This
Well, while you're
one's-
doing that, I'm going to show this. This was another thing that we were learning this week.
Camera movement.
The stuff on the bottom is just a joke. They're saying
Oh,
that
I've
that's what
seen this.
that's what clients say is that everything's a pan, but really there's names for each type of movement. And we learned that this week. There's panning, which is basically like if you were to stand still and you turn your head to the left or the right, that would be panning.
Mhm.
You're panning your
Okay.
head. Now, if you're tilting the camera, that's what you're doing with the camera, of course.
Oh, pause, honey, just 1 second. If anyone does have a question, remember to use the raise your hand emoji. Also, you can text in the chat. I have a question, and we'll pause and answer you. That way, you don't like forget your question, waiting for us to finish, that kind of thing.
Yeah, because I'm just trying to like, I don't hear any questions, so I just keep going. So like, if anybody has any questions or like has a comment or says no, you're wrong about something, let me know.
Or like
Wrong.
something, oh, this is interesting. Like in my experience, like they would call it this shot because there are multiple names for some of these shots that we saw as well.
Different people call them different things sometimes.
Just like how you guys are talking, you guys are panning, going from Priscilla to Lakota, Priscilla to Lakota.
Left to right. But yeah, so what did you send me, honey?
Oh, I sent you. Did you look at the other 2 images I sent you?
No.
It looks like Priscilla and Lakota in a medium close-up.
There you go. Yeah.
Yeah.
As
Okay,
Priscilla,
that's what you're saying. Okay, so they show the establishing shot. That's showing the location. It's outside of the building. It's showing where we are. Sometimes an establishing shot might be showing the city from above. It might be showing. What was that?
oh,
What? Are you trying to talk or are you just?
I think maybe his thing's just
I
on.
think he's trying to talk, but you know, he's in Canada. The Canadian Wi-Fi is trying to switch to 5G, so give him
no. Are you talking to me?
Yeah, you were making some noise, but we thought you were trying to talk.
Oh, wouldn't that be an insert
The
for like for a city and stuff?
an insert. This is more like a
Like close up.
cut away from the main scene. The establishing shot would be the first scene to set up the location. So if that's the first scene, like in Friends, when they show their apartment building, if that's the first take, that would be the establishing shot to show where they are.
Yeah,
Like
right.
that last one of the camera, it says point of view, but
Dakota's always right.
depending, it could also be.
No, I'm not.
Oh no,
No.
definitely not.
I'm not.
Yes,
But-
you are.
No.
We're just saying like this is what we've learned from multiple videos. So like this is what they're saying, and so we're just explaining what.
I've
We-
never heard of a
yeah.
worm's eye view.
Me neither. And
A
their
what?
this point of view that they're talking
This
about
thing
looks
says
a
a
lot
worm's
like
eye
an insect.
view down. Where is it? It's like
I've never even heard of that.
I've never heard of that either. So I don't know.
They made that
Explain
up.
that. I'm
They
trying to
made
know
that
now.
up.
You know,
Like-
the bird and the
Like right
worm.
now, Collins is
It
in
just
a
looks like
worm.
a low angle. So I think
Listen, look at Collins' picture. He's in a worm angle right now. He's in a worm eye view, Collins.
No, definitely, Brent. When we were watching the videos, and like I said, the shot list is one of the best ones. I'll send a few, but like when we were
To the
watching,
syllabus, right?
we were it's in the syllabus. The videos of the shot list,
Yeah.
they were explaining all of the shots, all of the camera movements, and while they were showing the shots, we were trying to like guess. Okay, that's this movement. That's that movement. That's this angle. That's that
That's what I'm
shot.
trying to do now. Yeah. So every time I
Yeah,
look at you
it
guys, I'm
does
trying to.
help. Yeah.
Yeah, it does.
yeah.
I wrote a lot of it down, but I didn't get to it because I was falling asleep.
You're good. But
But this is good
yeah,
though.
so the establishing shot, you got the wide shot that kind of still shows the location, but now we're on the inside. You got a medium shot from their chest up, a little bit below her chest, but whatever. And close up.
James says he thinks a worm's eye is more than just a low shot. So it's like a super low shot.
I get, so you have a bird's eye shot, which is like the overhead, like you've seen it in Kill Bill when, you know, Vivica Fox was about to get killed by Uma Thurman, and it had like
Spoilers, dude.
where the camera was like literally on the ceiling pointing down. So I'm assuming that this worm's eye shot is the direct opposite from the ground up,
Okay.
pointing.
I feel like it would
directly-
need, like I said in the chat, I feel like it would need to be farther away because like the bird's eye view is like really high up and then the worm's eye is kind of
Yeah, because James is saying you're basically seeing the camera through the
But,
perspective
I mean,
of a
that's
small
just,
creature.
like, that's just
Oh,
my,
no.
like, take of it.
So basically, you
I
can
feel
make
like
up
it'd be,
any.
yeah, I feel like it'd be farther.
You can make it up. You could say instead of a worm, it could be a ant.
A dog.
Ant view.
It's bigger. I feel like a worm
I
would
think
be
you
small
shouldn't
and
try to
hard.
confuse it more. But I do feel like you can, you know, like people start establishing relationships with their directors of photography, and they can start having maybe their own shots, like a worm's eye view or whatever they want to call it, and they know what that means. Then sure, go ahead, make up your own name for it.
Can we call
Well,
out-
yeah.
If you're trying to hire somebody and you're saying, "Hey, give me a worm's eye view shot," make sure that
call
you
it an
tell them
ant
what
shot?
it is.
So he's saying Word's Eye is really like basically pressed to the ground, but not necessarily looking up. Oh, I do remember that shot, honey. It was called something else though. In one of the videos we watched, they were calling. They were
It's a
talking about.
ground shot, I think.
Yeah, it was called a ground shot.
Okay.
Okay, I've heard ground shot, but I've never heard the other one you said.
Yeah, worms eye
Yeah,
view.
that's what I'm saying. Like, that's what I'm
like,
saying.
I've
There's so
heard
many
it.
different names for the same thing that it gets really confusing. But I feel
We
like
just make up our own.
no.
No,
let's
no,
try to
that's-
stick
Well-
to let's try to at least generalize it a little bit.
He's not wrong because like all of these shots are like these shots and these angles are pretty much guides. They're not
Yeah.
nothing is really set in stone. So
Right.
there's really no rule. You're not going to break a rule by not knowing the name or the
Oh yeah,
correct
the
Oh yeah,
terminology.
no,
movies.
like no. I was just trying to give everybody like a foundation of camera angles since we're trying to do some cinematography stuff later this semester.
Yeah.
Give them a you know a
General
something
idea.
to know, something to look at to see why. Plus, it's also helpful to know like why is this kind of shot used. Like maybe your
Thanks,
low
Brian.
angle is a little bit more down looking up, like a worm's eye.
But what we mean
Still
is
call it
just
low
like
angle, that's fine.
inventing
But
different
at
names
least you know
on
why
set
you're using it that way. You know what I mean?
Mm.
might be a little confusing if we just like invent a million different ways of saying the same shots on set, unless we
Yeah.
establish it together as a group or something. Just like when it comes to like terms, not every crew is going to have the same terms for everything. And some crews have their own specific words, and that's something that they, establish amongst themselves. But yeah, I think that it has multiple names. A lot of these have multiple names. And while we were studying, we also saw, for example, this person said, oh, this is a close-up. And then the other person, their close-up was farther away or closer or even closer, but it was still a close-up. So it's not necessarily a perfect set in stone rule. Directors will tweak it, and
Thank you,
cinematographers.
Priscilla and Brian, for understanding me.
Yeah.
Continue, Lakota.
So ones that are always used, whether like like she said, like you can pull it back or bring it closer and still call it the same shot, but generally they're around the same area. And it's like the wide shot, the establishing shot, the medium shot, close up, and then the high angle and low angle are just different angles. Extreme close up is very different from what we've seen. Most of the time people talk about one part of the face or something that's very close like that. Like if you're showing a really close up of a pin or whatever, that's an extreme close up. I would say this one that they're showing is more of an in-between of a close up and an extreme close up, but that's where the artistic,
Yeah.
like you can change it and make it your own, but it's still pretty close. So, it's still kind of, you can call it an extreme close up and nobody's going to be like, that is no way that it's an extreme close up. Like if you take that medium shot up there and say it's an extreme close up, then nobody's going to want to work with you because they don't know what you're talking about when you're asking for shots.
So Mel said, I bet there was one in Honey, I Shrunk the Kids as far as like the worm's eye view thing.
Yeah.
I do remember there was also another type that they used in Lord of the Rings, right? To make it seem, some characters seem bigger and some characters seem smaller. Was it the lens? James, you know this.
It's a bunch of different things all together. I don't want to like do everything at once. I'm trying to just
Oh, sorry.
focus on like shots, angles, and movement for now. And then
Because this
like
ended
next
up,
week we'll
you
start
know,
talking about
whole
lenses.
other ballpark, yo. Let's not get into that this time.
yeah, let's not.
Yeah.
But I just mean, like, I was trying to remember the type of camera, because I do know that there is one that I'm not finding. There are quite a few that I'm not finding that were in the videos that talked about like the close-up dolly shots, the ones, I forgot the name, that blurred everything out or that zoomed in
Talking
or
about the Dolly Zoom.
yeah.
We call that the Jaws, because that was made famous by Jaws. Where it's like you're zooming in, I mean, you're zooming out while
Yes.
dollying in.
Yeah.
Or vice versa.
That was
You
something
could
I
also
didn't hear.
dolly
Yeah.
out while zooming in, or zoom out while dollying.
Yeah, Jaws, they did a good job of that.
That is a very
Yeah.
hard shot to pull. I have one in my demo reel, and it didn't come out too great, but I have it in there
It's a
because
lot of focus pulling
Post it
while
to the-
also
post it
changing.
to the
Yes.
chat.
Yeah.
You gotta have like 3 freaking assistant cameras just to pull it off.
Yeah.
Really?
It's hard,
Wow.
man.
You need
Depending on
someone
what
who's
lens
pulling
you use.
focus. You need someone to pull focus. You need someone to control
The dolly.
the zoom. You need someone who's going to pull the actual dolly. Yeah, and usually the dolly set rigs are actually pretty heavy. So you're gonna need end up like between 2 to 3, like 1 or 2 people just to like pull the dolly rig, and then you're gonna need your camera operator.
Someone
Yeah,
play
I've been
music?
The camera.
I've been on a shot
That
like
sounds
that, but
easy.
I was the dolly grip.
Yeah, you look like a dolly grip.
Hey,
I mean, nowadays with
I'm the director and
the
producer,
advent of
buddy.
insanely good autofocus on like Sony cameras and Canon cameras, you can like slap it on a gimbal and like slap like you can slap the Sony camera on a gimbal, put on like one of their native zooms, like like the ones that are made specifically for those cameras by the company. And you can get a dolly shot, like a dolly zoom, pretty easily nowadays.
Guys,
But then,
who's
like, if
playing
you're trying to
music
get
in the
the same
background?
look
Yeah,
as
who's
the
doing
set of
that?
lenses that you're already using, that's when you have to bring in the 3 ACs.
Yeah.
Who's playing
Yeah,
music in the
I know there's
background?
like some tools now that you can use, like different equipment allows it to be easier to be done certain things. Like I have stuff from Edelkrone, which is like a lot of you show it what you want it to do, and then it kind of just repeats that over and over until you move the camera somewhere else. So it is more possible to be done with less people, but I still feel like having that assistant camera crew is makes it way better and way more professional. Anyway.
Well, I think, when you do it with a small crew and then you get to, it's almost like getting used to knowing what to expect. So that when you get a crew, you know if they're doing something wrong or they're not getting it.
Yeah, but that's also why we were talking about like knowing a little bit of this stuff, because we know like the strengths and limitations of our group. We know realistically what we can pull off and what we can't. And we also know what to expect, because I feel like a lot of people go into their first thing and are like, okay, this is gonna be awesome. And there's
I want this extremely difficult shot to be done. It's like, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what we were talking about before, where with the script we were writing, and make sure that it's, because you write a script when there's a lot of moving parts, you're gonna have a real hard time figuring all those shot lists.
Yeah. Like
So
the
he's-
more locations you add, the more money it's gonna cost, and more moving everybody, so it's gonna be more time. And it's just like a bunch of different things that you don't even think about when you're trying to write a story, that you might need to think about when you are actually going into it, depending on your budget. But that's a whole other thing. Anyway, back to this again, unless anybody has any other comments or questions.
Stuff.
I feel like so far the comments and questions we've had have been semi on topic, so we're not like in trouble yet. I think we're still good.
So
They've all been on topic, so we're good. Like, anyway.
No, you know what I mean. Like we're having a discussion that's necessary, not anything that we're
so
like
you're breaking into that.
getting super out of it.
So there was
lost
two
in the
different
meta conversation where we just start talking about the conversation for 15 minutes.
Exactly.
No, I'm just making sure that like it still has a purpose. That's all.
So then the other things they were talking about were insert shots and cutaways, which are kind of the same thing, but they're used for different reasons. Cutaways are used as kind of a transition in between scenes. You cut away to something so that you can cut back to the action or a different scene. And then an insert is more to do with the story. If someone's reaching for something and you want to show what they're reaching for, maybe someone's reaching for a gun in their coat, they're getting ready to blast somebody away, then you want to show their hand and they're reaching into their coat and you can see the gun.
I've seen examples of inserts as well where it's just the focusing on the object because it's going to be important later.
But cities can be inserts as well.
Cutaway can be like usually B-roll. You do get a lot of stuff that you can use as a cutaway. So yeah, that does work.
Okay.
B-roll is usually used for that type of reason, and especially for editing purposes. Like if you have an actor and they're in a different spot, it's a good reason to cut away a little bit if you can. If it's not too awkward and you don't need to do a pickup scene, it's better to just cut away to something and then cut back to the action if something was going to be out of place otherwise.
V asked, can cutaway be the same as cut to in the script?
Cutaways are more like a cut to in a script is usually more for cutting to a new scene. So that wouldn't really be a cutaway. A cutaway is more of something that doesn't really have to do with the story as much as it just has to do with like something going on in the scene.
The filmmakers here agree?
Yes.
Yeah, I mean,
Bobby's raising his hand. What's up?
Oh, I raised my hand to ask about the B-roll thing, but I put it in the chat box, so it's already been answered.
Okay, gotcha.
I still think, and I have to say here, this is the worst example of point of view. I feel like they could have used a better example of point of view. But
the point of view is just like you do it from the character's point of view. You're seeing it from their eyes. You're seeing what they're seeing, and they usually try to match the movement of the camera to how the character's feeling. If they're feeling anxious or if they're feeling nervous, they might have the camera be a handheld so that it shakes a little bit. They're kind of freaking out. You kind of get a sense of how they're feeling, and you go to their eyes. You're seeing everything from their eyes, and
they give the camera some emotion.
Is it?
Yeah.
Can you do like third person as well too, and first person with that?
With what?
With point of view?
Yeah.
That would be more of like an over the shoulder or a track shot.
Or I thought it was like an insert.
Point of view is not. Point of view is just showing from that person's whatever characters.
An example they gave, let's say you're in a war movie and you're seeing
through binoculars, right?
Yeah, something like that. Or like there's a camera showing like really close the guy looking at you and talking to you while the bombs go off. That's a point of view. It's like it's as if you were in the
perspective
camera.
on the character. I got
yeah,
you.
exactly.
Yeah, and maybe like if you're in a war, the camera's blurring in and out, and there's like a very high pitched.
And there's a shaking because of the bomb going off. And
right. Got you.
Yeah.
And that kind of thing.
So that's what point of view is. Over the shoulder is used.
Is Johnny trying to like raise his hand?
Huh? No, that's Bobby.
Yeah, because I don't know how to raise my hand otherwise. I've been looking for it.
Oh, sorry.
You actually are raising your hand?
I think that the cutaway is like say for example, a guy was on the battlefield and he's sitting there with his gun and all of a sudden he starts thinking about being back home with his wife or his kids or a memory, some kind of memory that pops in. I think that a cutaway is in this particular
that's more of a
whereas
flashback.
You know what I mean?
That is more story driven, and that it does serve a purpose. And
that could be
from what we saw, like, and what from I've known already. From what I know, cutaway is like when it's just cutting away to maybe like you said, he's in the war, he's looking down, maybe the war just ended, he's getting up to leave, and they cut away to just the empty battlefield, and then they cut back to him. It's not necessarily an insert because it's not
part of the scene.
Right.
Whoa.
It's not like
Um,
something he's using in the scene. They're not cutting to his gun while he's getting ready to pick it up to shoot somebody. They're showing something else going on. It's a cutaway to something else.
Lots of times cutaways are used when the editor has run out of, like, he's trying to, I'm sure you guys have gone over the 180 rule, but like, let's say he needs to get
Not
over
yet,
there on
actually.
that side.
well, we
That'll
have
be a-
The
that's
180
later,
rule.
They'll
later.
use a cutaway and then cut back to it, and then they'll be on that side. Like,
Yeah.
they can be used for a numerous amount of things, but a lot of times in the editing world, they'll use cutaways to break a lot of the established 180 shots and whatnot.
Kind of to patch things up when they
Yeah.
can't really find another
as
option.
far as the
Then-
180 rule,
then
we
he-
did mention it last semester, but it was like really quick. We're gonna delve deeper into it this
Yeah,
semester.
I'll have to look in the syllabus, but it's somewhere in like next week or the week after.
But I was gonna say, Brian, you did some stuff. Daniel, do you guys think like, are there any examples you can think of that, because I can remember a few that aren't on here, but specifically, like, I don't know how to explain them that well. Can you guys think of any that you think are like really important that maybe like aren't on here right now, or that you guys didn't know about until you started filming and then you were like, oh, never heard of that one before?
Well, a dirty shot was new to me.
Mm.
Like I've never saw it done until I learned it in film school, and I'm like, oh, this is
Which
cool.
shot?
And sorry,
Which shot?
the dirty shot.
Okay.
Oh, okay,
Like I found, and I used it a lot in film school.
cool.
And what else? I think that's only pretty much the only shot. I think the worm shot kind of caught me off guard tonight.
Yeah, same.
A shot that's in here it's really no big deal, but it is a really cool shot. It's called the arcing shot.
Arc shot, yeah.
If
Otherwise,
you've
or
seen the
360
movie
degree shot.
Bad Boys 1 and Bad Boy, it was like Michael Bay uses it a lot. This is like his hero shot that kind of like doesn't go full 360. It's kind of like a halfway 360, and they'll cut to another shot going in the same direction. But that is a really cool shot, but it's also a really hard shot to pull off as well.
You got to have a lot of practice and skill, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Pretty sure.
Is it like- Did you discover it
Is the
later?
arc shot
or
different
was
from the
it something-
360 degree shot, or is that considered the same thing with different names?
I guess it can kind of be considered 360.
So I got a question with the cutaway, right? If you're saying that,
Or better yet, the Matrix shot. We'll call it the
Yeah, when he's in the
I can't
air,
wait for part 4 to come out.
pause time and go around.
Oh no.
They're literally making a Matrix 4.
Right
I
here.
just found
Oh
out.
yeah, I know. Yeah.
Yeah.
This shot, if anyone knows it, it's the one where they pause and then they go around them in a 360 degree radius, so that they're in the center, but the camera's circling around in a circle.
Yeah. Oh, and then right next to it has the art shot right there in the blue.
And all in the background, that's all green screen,
Yep.
right?
And that's how it is. So the camera would be going around this circle, and it'd be filming the and, because the and.
Well,
so that's
And-
an arc shot, which is like a cutaway. So they're doing two 180s or something like that.
They're actually, this would be a continuous 360 shot, so all the way around the subject. The subject in this case would be the and that the camera would be on these lines, and they would be pointing down towards the end and following it the whole way around.
that picture that Coda showed you of the camera and the red line showing the movements, that's on the Reddit page. And that actually shows like in a pretty cool way, like how the camera would move and stuff.
See if I can actually find it.
But yeah, I just thought I'd ask because like you guys have like filming experience and stuff. So I thought it'd be like cool to see like, oh, were there any shots that you were like, oh, this is cool, never heard of that. This is interesting, but like super hard.
Not necessarily the Matrix one, but the one Michael Bay does with Bad Boys is the one I'm trying to get in my demo reel. That is a hard shot to get.
Is the one where they were like looking at each other and they were going around in the 360?
Yeah, hold on. Let's see if he pulls it up.
Is
I
it
was gonna ask
these?
James. You already
That's
answered
the
through
new
your
one. Here, the one Bad Boys 95 to 2020,
Yeah,
the hero
I
shot.
remember that
Swoop
shot.
down low with the
This one?
telephoto.
No, down
No.
right there. That one.
The
This
hero
James, don't use
shot.
hard words.
Yep. All right. So if you guys look at that, you can see the arc shot. That's what it looks like. It's going around. And
Which
it's
one?
the one that's playing in a loop.
There's that one, and then the one above it. Play the one above it. But this is the one I'm talking about. The other one is like an extreme variation of that. But this
See how
is
the
pretty
camera's
much-
going around in a circle around them as they stand still?
What's that called again?
It's the arc shot.
The arc. Sorry about that.
Just go off like 360.
It's not even a full 360.
I like
So I think probably the difference between an arc shot and a 360, just from looking at it, is arc shot doesn't go the full 360, and the 360 goes all the way around. That's
Got it. That's the difference. Okay, that makes sense.
Because I was wondering, because when you was looking at the arc shot, it looked like it stopped and it started back again.
Yeah.
So like it's showing you the arc shot, but it keeps kind of.
But if you also notice, like it goes from, you see what they just did? It went from Martin Lawrence to reveal Will. So there is like some establishment there, and there's also like a variation. So it goes from like a close up to like a medium shot. So there's also transitioning shots within that one shot.
Right. Almost in like Parasite, right? Where when they were in the room, they were jumping from like medium shot, dirty shot, single shot. They kept jumping around.
Yeah.
Look at Brett using all the fancy terms.
Fancy terminology.
Yeah, there's a lot of emotion and a lot of reason. Like once we watch a film this semester and we look at it for the cinematography, we'll probably notice a lot of different things that you don't usually notice when you're just watching it, because a good cinematographer, you usually don't know, you shouldn't notice it because it should just follow the story. You should be so into the story that you don't even notice the technicalities that are going into everything, like the lighting and the cinematography.
One of the articles that we sent on the syllabus especially talks about that, because they have the perspectives of a bunch of huge directors, cinematographers, giving their perspectives and their opinions on things. Speaking of, James, don't do a drinking game every time they say freaking
Roger Deakins.
Roger Deakins, because holy crap, they mention him so much.
Yeah.
You could do a drinking game, you would end up in the hospital, but they mention him a lot.
Yeah, all the cinematography links we have, like almost every single one of them mentioned Roger Deakins over and over.
You're like, man, James is gonna love this.
But yeah, does anybody have any questions or comments or anything about camera angles or camera shots?
Yeah, are we going to be delving more into this, or is this today the only day we're going to talk about camera angles?
We're going to be delving more into it. We are going to be learning more about cinematography and cameras and everything. So it's all kind of going to come together. And then when we try to copy a scene, and when we watch a movie, we'll definitely be looking out for all these angles. And we'll probably do some kind of like quiz thing later, like a little quiz game, like no grade, but just like,
just
what
for
kind of
knowledge
shot is
purposes.
this? What kind of angle, and then like see.
Basically, did you actually learn anything this semester type of
Yeah,
game
yeah,
show?
yeah.
That's what we called it
I
last semester.
understand, and I'm all for it.
Cool. All right. Yeah.
One thing I will ask you guys, because I don't know about the newbies, but our OGs are a very indecisive bunch. So I will ask that. Come on. But I will ask that
Just because it's true doesn't mean it doesn't hurt, okay?
Ay. But what I'm saying is, like, start thinking about movies that have like really beautiful cinematography, really cool cinematography that you think would be interesting to watch as a study.
Yeah, so it would have to either be on Netflix or what else do we have?
Amazon Prime. We have that as well.
HBO Max.
HBO Max.
We also have that. So
crap, we don't have Hulu anymore.
What about Hulu?
We don't have Hulu
We don't
anymore.
have
but
Hulu. So.
Oh.
if we find it, and if it's like really, I can pay 1 month subscription if it's like a really good movie. Okay, I'll pay the $5.
HBO Max has what? Blade Runner.
The Blade Runner movies.
Oh, those are awesome. I love Cyberpunk.
Yeah.
Okay, so maybe that one's on the list of possibilities. But
You
yeah,
guys, yeah, we
but
one
anybody
that
else that has
photography,
another
but
movie
also
too, I'm gonna write that
yeah.
down since
The King Kong movie with the new one.
Oh
God-
yeah.
Godzilla
The
versus
fight scene
Kong.
Godzilla versus King
they had
They
in
Kong.
the
do a
water,
cutaway.
the
Is
fight
that
scene
a
they had in the
cutaway?
water was pretty cool. They had pretty cool camera angles in that one. That
Which
one,
one? The new one?
yeah, when he punched him and
Yeah.
he went, the camera went down with King Kong into the water. It's just a pretty cool scene.
Okay,
Wait,
cool.
do you
But
mean
remember,
Skull
guys,
Island?
we have to think of a
No,
movie
no, the new one.
that's cinematography overall. Like we can't just think of like one cool scene or like.
I'm talking about the camera angles. The camera angles in that it was really cool. You just have to.
Okay.
Okay, cool.
All right, we'll add that to the list as well. But yeah, just keep thinking
I'm
about it.
writing them down.
Once you guys come up with ideas, send them in the WhatsApp group and we'll like write them down and see if we can find them. And then we'll vote for the top, like the top select ones that, you know, everyone agrees on, or the ones that we can find actually. We'll make like
Raid Redemption.
a poll and we'll have you guys vote.
Yeah, that's
Of course, it's
I'll
brave.
look in this syllabus for that. But that,
So
yeah.
how do you make the pole? Do you make it out of metal?
Oh man.
This is Daniel. He makes very punny puns.
All right, back to the camera movement. So after camera shots, camera angles, you also want to figure out what kind of movement you want to do in the scene. And movement is probably one of the biggest indicators of like what the emotion is or what you're trying to reveal or what you're trying to hide until a certain time in the scene. And so you choose these different movements to either follow the character, set an emotional tone, or what was the other reason? It was you want to follow the characters, you want to set an emotional tone.
You want to establish the image as well, like
Or
something
it's
that.
for a story purpose, like
Yeah,
I already said, like to hide something, or to like in a horror movie, you're gonna use a lot of different camera movements to hide the whoever the ghost or the bad guy or whatever it is, so that they're not in the scene the whole time, unless that's what you want.
An example that they gave that I thought was really cool was when they're talking about Get Out. No spoilers. Well, sort of. But like when they were talking about Get Out, they talked about how most movies have like the establishing shot, establishing shot, or was it the
House?
Yeah, the one that's at the house. Was it the
Yeah.
master shot or the establishing shot?
It could be a master shot.
I think they're the same, master and establishing shot.
Yeah, I feel so too.
So when you
Everyone's different, so I'm like,
like from my perspective, a master shot is in the scene the entire time. An establishing shot is just showing where you are or what,
like the city,
how
an
far the
establishing
characters
shot
are
of
from
the
each other,
city.
and a master shot can be used to film the entire scene, and then
you're right. You're absolutely right. But so what we have is like a formula. So you'll start with normally establishing shots like Lakota just described are shot like on second unit photography. If you guys don't know what that means. So there's two different units in the movie. You have the principal photography and they'll go and shoot all the actors, get all the lines. Then you have second unit photography and they'll go out and get like shots of the house, exteriors, all that stuff. That's second unit stuff. B-roll, that's all second unit stuff. So principal photography, you'll start off with like a master, but it's really all up into editing. Like you see some movies, they don't even start off, they'll start off with a close-up and then they'll end it on a master.
Yeah, the thing that they were showing, for example, the example in Get Out was, most movies do their establishing shot, their master, and then with the interactions, they will have the half close up or the the one with shoulder,
medium close up, a close
medium
up,
close
or
up.
a full
Thank you.
shot.
Still learning, guys.
But I've seen, correct me if I'm wrong, but I've seen them when they do the establishing shot, they use it as a transition too, from like going from a different scene or the guy's running away into the sunset You know?
Yeah, a lot of movies do that too, like where their establishing shot for their first scene for the next scene is showing where they are now in the next location.
A lot.
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Oh, I was gonna say like a big one they do is they don't even use the shot; they'll use a sound. So like if there's music playing, they'll have like music playing, and then they'll cut to a close up of a stereo with that song in, within the shot, and then they'll cut into the rest of the dialogue. So there's different types of ways of transitioning into different scenes. Sometimes you can use a shot, or sometimes you can use sound or pick up cues or whatever. But every movie is different, and it really all depends on now you're really getting into the post-production phase, and you're kind of
Definitely. No, but what I'm just saying is like I'm trying to explain is so an example that they gave was instead of doing the basic back and forth and the scenes, they stayed on the master shot, which wasn't it a master shot? Now it's an establishing shot. What the heck? I think it was
It was an establishing shot, but they left it, so I guess it is a master. They left it when they first arrived at the house. They were getting out of the car. They were pretty far away from the camera, but they didn't close in on them as they were talking. They stayed far.
Or opening the door or meeting the family. They stayed far and showed them and was showing just the house with ominous music in the back and showing them going in and saying hi, but still with that wide shot of the house. And then it panned back. Yeah, and then it panned back and had that the man standing in the corner. So
we call that just a really long take. So if you watch the movie The Godfather, the scene where they drove him all the way up, and there was a scene where it was a really, really wide, extreme wide shot, and the car pulls in the frame, and then he shoots him in the back of the head, and there's the bridge in the background and stuff, and they didn't cut to anything at all. They just stayed on it. It's just a really long shot.
Yeah, but the purpose that I'm trying to say is that that shot had a purpose of the long shot was there for a reason. It was so that you would focus more on the house and on the ominous music and okay, something's weird here. Something, it was to give an emotion. It was to
the way they explained it, I think Studio Binder was the one who published the video. They talked about Get Out, and they said that they do that to add a sense of unease, to make us as the audience stay farther away from the house, because why aren't we comfortable going close to these characters? Why aren't we comfortable being at the door as the audience? And that's a psychological thing to keep you in a sense of unease, because we're staying away from that house. There's something wrong. They're going in, the characters, but as the audience, because we see from the camera's view, we are seeing it far away, and we are staying away from it because that's what the director did.
Yeah, so I'll send the video and it'll probably explain better than I can, but I just thought that was interesting because you could feel that emotion. You could tell, and it was kind of it wasn't just, oh, that's weird. No, it was oh, okay. You felt something. It made you feel something instead of just being a shot for a shot's sake. And it made me think about last semester when we were writing and we're oh, every line should have purpose, even the ones that are just regular dialogue. It made me think about that with scenes as well. Every shot that a cinematographer and a director decide to shoot, the way that they decide to shoot it has a purpose to draw you into the story, to make you feel something, to make you notice something. The shots that are wider for a reason, the shots that are closer for a reason.
Most of the time.
It just makes most of the time.
Occasionally, I feel like they just do it to look cool, but most of the time, if it's well done, it should be for the story or for a purpose.
And like they said, if you're doing your job right, the person watching doesn't notice that. It's just they're feeling all the emotions they're feeling all the emotions. They're following the movie. They're enthralled, and they're not even noticing they can notice wow. That was, if someone who's a film buff can notice, oh, that's a cool shot, or someone who's never seen it before, but it'll still make you feel something, as opposed to someone just being oh, okay, that shot. Am I explaining it right? I don't know. Hopefully I'm explaining, you guys are understanding what I mean. Honey, should I I guess not. Sorry,
Just
guys.
kidding.
I should have known.
All right, let me get back to the camera movement though. But yeah, from what we saw, like she said, like a lot of the cinematographers and even the guy that has worked in cinematography for 30 years that actually we contacted this past Tuesday, he even said the same thing that we were seeing when we watched the videos, and that was before we watched them, that everything you do, why are you doing this angle? Why are you doing that camera movement? What is the purpose? Is there a purpose? Or are you just doing it to make it look fantastical? Like, do you want it to look cool? That's cool, but is there a reason for it? Should you be in awe of this scene? Is that why it should look cool? Is the character just discovering this wonderful magical place? Then that's a great time to do that really cool, awesome, amazing, beautiful scene. Shot, I mean. But if you're just doing it all the time throughout the movie to look cool, then it's not really going to have much substance later on. It'll look pretty, but it won't hold people's it won't encapsulate people. It won't capture their attention and hold them in and make them think, oh, that movie's really good, let me watch it again. I don't know why, but it's a really good movie, that kind of thing.
Sorry, go ahead, Brett.
I was gonna say, isn't that when a good editor comes into play?
It depends. Like an editor can only do so much. Like
Yeah.
Brian was saying,
if you
like
want to piss an editor off, go ahead and do that. Like,
Yeah, exactly.
yeah, like an editor, the editor can only edit together what was shot. So
Yeah,
they
here's
can't
some boring
say,
shots,
oh,
make
you
it
know
look
what,
cool.
director, you have these really cool shots, and it's all these really cool shots, but you really need to get some close-ups. So get back in there, get those actors, and do some pickup shots.
but
They can't make
on
shots that magically appear.
on that note, you could also help an editor out when you connect shots. So going from a close-up to another close-up, like a guy's got a gun and you start off with the gun and then you move up his arm into a close-up of his face, you can kill 2 shots with that. I mean, sure, like, you're also thinking of this more of like you're saving yourself from having to shoot multiple shots by connecting it. I'm not suggesting you go ahead and think like every time you set something up, can I connect or can I connect that? But that thought does come into my mind when I shoot. It's like, okay, well, I can do something a little bit more slick than the basic cut here, cut there. I can just connect these shots. Not
Yeah,
only am I
definitely, I
saving
agree with
shots.
That's
that.
definitely that's really cool, and that I feel like the thing you explained would be a purpose for the story too. Like you don't have to cut from the gun to his face. You can go up the arm, like you said, and it still holds that same meaning. So
Of
Would
course,
that be
if
like a
it's
tilt?
I feel like
That would be
finding
like a
little
tilt?
tricks like that makes a good cinematographer too.
a tilt, was that in the things?
Yes, that's the camera movement that I was trying to get to earlier, but
Oh,
I'll get to in a second.
No, I was gonna ask you, with that shot where you were saying you kill 2 birds with 1 stone, you could turn that into a tilt where you're going from the gun to the hand to the face.
Yeah, you can tilt. It really all depends on the angle and what kind of lens you're using. But yeah, you can use a tilt for that.
That would be like a way to make it look more intimidating if you wanted to do it that way. That
Right.
would be it, because then it would end on a low angle, and it would be looking up at the character if you started out at his gun, unless
Yep.
you started out looking down at his gun and then tilted back up to be straight with his face. So there's a lot of different ways you can do things.
So it's always wise to have different type of angles when you're doing your shot list. Like you want to make sure and have a whole bunch of different angles to kind of like, but when you say you can't have a whole bunch because it got to be a reason, right, to tell the story or what, like the emotion you're trying
There
to
needs
get
to
out of
be
it.
a reason, and it also needs to capture people's attention and hold them.
but I feel like
Also
it's
gotta-
like what Brian
like another
said.
thing, like what you said, if you get too many angles, it also, for me, and I've heard a lot of other people say this, they hate it when it's like a fight scene or something in a movie where it's just jump cut, jump cut, jump cut, cutting all over the place. And yeah, they got a lot of covers, they got a lot of angles, but it's like so many cuts that it's just like, what am I even watching? I don't even know what I'm watching because I'm only seeing this little clip of a scene.
You know what?
For 5 seconds.
One movie came to mind was like that, and I had to keep paying attention. Avengers Endgame. I was like, yo, I had to watch it 2-3 times because there was too many things cutting. I was like, all right, I don't know what happened over here.
But I feel like that was a really good idea that a really good suggestion that Brian gave. Thanks for that. And also, like he said, don't overdo it to the point where it's not feasible and you're just like having extra time, but also be mindful of that and think, okay, let me see if I can make this shot, like do a little more with it, make it last longer, make it easier for the editor to have more options if he can, you know. But yeah, I think that's a really cool thing to think about when you're shooting is
I think another
if
good
you
thing,
can.
another good thing I've heard from a lot of people is usually if you can get both and like the cinematographer or the director thinks something will look good and one or the other is kind of like in disagreement, if you have the time, you can just be like, why don't we just shoot both and then we can see in editing. And the more you have, it's better than just having like only one and then realizing, oh man, you were right. We should have had that other angle or that other movement. So if you have the time, if you are able to, just capture both and then see which one you actually like better later.
And sometimes if you want to take it, like film it an alternate way too, and then you can see in post, you'll see in editing what looks better.
Yeah.
And even sometimes with sound, that's better too.
All right, Annie, you can continue.
Yeah, so movement for cameras. So panning is like standing still. If your head was the camera and you're looking to the left or to the right, you're not moving anything but your head. That's panning, to the left and right only. Tilting is the same thing, except for you're going to be looking up or down with the camera. You're standing still, you have the camera on a tripod, and you just tilt it up or tilt it down. Rolling is having the camera and you are turning it upside down to where it is going around in a circle. The frame is going around in a circle. It's turning on its side and then turning upside down and then turning on its other side and then back up straight again if you're going all the way around. That would be a roll. You have a dolly. A dolly is moving in or moving out. You usually have something on like a track, kind of like a little train track it looks like, and it has a tripod with wheels pretty much. And you are putting the camera on top of that, and then you're slowly pushing it so that it's very steady and very smooth, and you're pushing it or you're pulling it out. And that'll bring you a very smooth shot towards the character or the subject, and then or moving it out. One good way, somebody always brings this up, is the scene in The Shining when the little kid on his bike is going through the hall. That's a dolly shot. They're following him all the way through from behind. They're just following him on a dolly as he's riding through that whole hotel. That would be a dolly shot. Correct, right? I'm right. I'm not wrong on that. All right, and then a boom or a jib shot, as you can see in the diagram, it's going up and down with the camera. You have it on a jib, which is like a thing that slightly does, it kind of does the same thing as a dolly, except for it does it on a y-axis, so it's like up and down. So it's very smooth movement, and the camera's actually rising up or rising down. So in that shot earlier that Brian was talking about,
it's a boom, right? They call it a boom too.
I don't know. Like yeah, they do, but I've never really heard it.
I've heard it before. I've heard it because if you think about it as a crane,
I've heard
right?
like boom pole for the mic, but I've never heard like boom for the camera.
Well,
Like a crane goes
boom
up and
is
down.
referring to like just a pole or something that's like, because they use boom for in the military as well for other
Right.
objects that, so you can say boom, you can say jib, or you can say crane. When they use crane, they're usually talking about a really, really big jib, like a 20-footer.
Like a really complex big machine that looks kind of like an industrial piece of equipment.
But there's different versions of the jib as well.
Yes.
So something like that, like a very high tech one would be like this giant one right here. Like, and they use it, they put the camera on one end, and that's a crane. And a crane can go up and down, but it can also pan left and right, or it can rotate, or it can tilt. So it can do a bunch of different moves. So I usually think of that as a different shot, but it is known as like a jib or a crane shot if you're just going up and down with it. But since a crane can do so many more movements, I just try to, I think of that as something else. But yeah, it's.
I'm pretty sure in that movie you just mentioned, I'm pretty sure that was a handheld dolly.
Oh, it was? Okay.
The Shining.
So that would have
Yeah.
been, then that would have been either a steady cam, like a steady cam, right?
Did you
But
see The Shining?
sometimes,
Hmm?
but
Did you guys see The
sometimes you
Shining?
can dolly by moving, like by moving and stuff. If you're walking slowly and stuff,
Yeah.
there is handheld dolly.
But usually they use a steady cam for it to be smooth movement.
Yeah, but
It's
it depends
like
on the camera op too.
handheld is usually used for making it shake a little bit and making it seem like you are like there's
Like a-
something like if there's an explosion happening, they shake the camera a little bit. Maybe
Yeah.
they're having a handheld shot.
Yeah,
where
they used a steady cam. It
They use a
says,
steady cam?
yeah,
Okay.
they used a steady cam.
And
There's
you
a
have a
scene in
question?
The Shining where little Danny, sorry, that sounded a little rude. I was just Googling it, sorry. There's a scene in The Shining where little Danny Torrance,
Of
a boy
course.
with psychic abilities, is riding the big wheel tricycle through the cavernous, the letters are tiny, guys, sorry, I'm blind. Cavernous Hotel. The scene was shot using a steady cam, which was new technology at the time.
Steadicam, something like that. Like the person holds it, it's a way for the camera to steady itself on that thing. It has what is it called? Gyro. What is it called? Gyroscope.
Shining was the first use of Steadicam, since you mentioned it, Priscilla. It was actually, it had just been invented, and Stanley Kubrick had brought on the inventor of Steadicam to be his Steadicam operator.
Really? That's cool.
Yeah, he loved the technology and he thought that it would be useful. That's why there's so much of it in the show, in the movie. There's Steadicam everywhere in The Shining because he loved the technology and it was fresh at the time. It was the first movie to use it.
That's awesome.
Okay, so a Steadicam, it kind of mimics a dolly shot, but it gives a lot more freedom to movement because the person can walk throughout the scene.
Yeah, because I was
Something
thinking
like
about
this,
it.
that's what a Steadicam operator would have. They would have something similar to this, some kind of rig that they're either attaching to their chest or they're holding in just their hands. And
Also monopods.
Monopods, yeah, and all that stuff helps to stabilize the image and not make it shake as much. Because
Gimbals.
Another thing that's interesting, they said the visual effects expert generated a computer model of the blood elevator sequence. Wow, okay.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Back in the day,
so
using a
that's
real flow 4 and Lightwave 9.6. However, while a set was used to shoot the scene in The Shining, within the film itself, the elevator halfway is open to the rest of the hotel.
I think it's huge. I'd be afraid of like knocking someone's head in. But yeah, so they use something like this, and there's obviously it gets more and more professional the more money you get. But they've made like smaller versions. They made even smaller version would be what's called a glide cam, and that's like a less expensive, not as good, but still does stabilize the image more. What was that?
I said it's about a $600-800 device, depending on what you're getting it for.
Yeah,
Not the
and
glide cam, but the
Steadicam's like
the
1,000,
gimbals. Yeah.
For a gimbal.
Not a
gimbal,
No,
glide cam.
you can get gimbals for 500 to 800.
Oh,
yeah. The Ronins, yeah.
Okay, that was.
I
But
bought my
you get
gimbal
that
for
kind of
300. So
So sorry, the dolly shot is when it's on a track, and maybe I can actually find a picture of it.
I'm just curious to see
It's
how.
on a track, sort of like this. Let's try this one. And usually they call that a tracking shot when it's to the side, but it's still on the same kind of track. It tracks them from the side, and then it's called the dolly shot if it's backing
Pushing
away
in.
from them or going towards them. But if it's following them from the side, it is a tracking shot or trucking shot usually.
So to get an idea of what a dolly shot, what it means to dolly is take a zoom, is doing the direct opposite of a like you have it right here, the dolly versus the zoom. Ultimately, you're getting closer to your subject, but with the dolly, you're physically moving into your subject, and with a zoom, it's more of a lens trick. So when you think
So it'll
dolly,
distort the
you
background,
don't know.
while a dolly will keep it everything.
Yeah.
as long as you keep it.
So
And-
Sarah, sorry guys, Sarah had a question. As far as the trucking shot, the trucking stock, my gosh, what is wrong with me today? The trucking shot is like a tracking shot, except it's sideways. But I've also heard it called a tracking shot. So
Yeah, she's right.
I mean, yeah, I think it's become like kind of interchangeable with dolly and trucking. Like they keep saying it's interchangeable in certain things. So I'm not sure
Is it-
how accurate that is or not.
Is it because it's on a track? Is that like part of why it's called a tracking shot or a tracking shot?
No, because you're tracking the subject.
Okay, so
Tracking them.
like you're following them.
Yeah.
Like in the scene with the like
Okay.
the steady cam is also using a tracking shot in a way because it's
Exactly.
following him
Like in
throughout
that
the entire
Denzel
way,
movie,
tracking him.
like in the Spike Lee movie when he was doing it, tracking Denzel when he was walking out with.
Are you talking about the Inside Man?
Not Inside Man, when he was tracking him.
No, it's a signature shot. I know what you're
Yeah,
talking about.
the infamous Spike Lee shot. Yeah, I know what you're
Yeah.
I
talking
forget
about.
what it's called. I believe it's called the standing dolly zoom. It's called the standing dolly. What they'll have is that they'll have the actor standing on the dolly with the camera.
Yes.
So
Oh, I,
like,
I do know that shot. Yeah.
His feet won't be
exactly.
moving, but he will. Like the background moves, and
Kind
he
of like
doesn't.
floating or
him.
skating through the scene. It looks.
I just wanna remind everyone that especially those that are like new and these shots seem a little like, whoa, what? Wait, what? Intimidating. All of the better explanations showing real life examples in movies of these shots are in the syllabus. Especially
Yeah.
the videos from the shot list, which is Studio Binder, I believe.
Studio Binder does a really good job at showing you like how they're used in movies. So yeah.
Not sponsored.
Also one.
They do
There was also
use-
one I liked that he was showing the different shots on. He was just like filming a teddy bear and he was showing like the different shots and what they do.
and using a teddy bear to show all of those shots. Really, really good. Like I said, because there are so many, I will try to send a few this weekend that kind of explain it a little better. But don't get too used to that because like the syllabus is where a lot of things are, because sometimes what I will understand better, like a video that, oh, this I understand better than that video. Sometimes for you, another video will explain it better, you know? So that's why we have like multiple in there for different perspectives, different people, even some opinions and stuff that we didn't exactly agree with, but we thought would be interesting to have there and discuss later. So just remember to watch it, see the ones that you understand, and maybe just check the other ones to see if there's anything that isn't in the video you just watched or something like that. The articles especially I recommend, even though one of them is very biased towards the cinematographer, like just a little bit, like talking about him, basically saying, oh, the director's just, there. The way that he worded it. But they were all very, very good articles. And those I recommend if you guys have time to have a read. If not, the videos are really good too.
Yeah, and also in the syllabus is like a lot of the information might be repeated. So once you feel like you have it, then just skip that section. Like I separated it into sections of like camera movement and then have a bunch of videos related to that. Once you start hearing the same information and you feel like, oh, I already know what tilt and pan is, then just go to the next video or just skip that little section and go to the next area for the week, I would say.
I mean, sometimes it's good to listen to it again because then
Yeah, definitely.
It gets stuck in your head and writing it down. And then before you know it, after the next class, you'll have it like down pat, man.
Definitely. But there are a lot. So like sometimes you hear the same information 4 times and you're good.
And my might read it 6 times. You never know.
Yeah, other people.
Right. That's why I have
exactly
it in there
why we put
times
so
for
many.
different people. Also, somebody could explain it bad, and then you go and listen to a different person.
Right.
They explain it very well, and you understand it completely from them, but from the other
Exactly. So we gave the people that option to be like, watch as many as you want, see if there are differences, see if some you understand better, hear the same information over and over again in different ways. Like, it's a study group, up to you. We're just trying to help give you some resources.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. So does
No, it's
anybody
very
have
much
any
appreciated.
questions or comments or anything about camera movement, camera angles, or camera shots?
I'll say, so these camera movements, some of them are very difficult, some of them are pretty easy. But like Priscilla was saying, like, don't let it confuse you too much. This isn't the make or break of everything. So like I was saying in the last meeting, my favorite movie is the movie Ghostbusters. If you watch that movie, there's absolutely no camera movement in that movie. You might have one pan or maybe one, that's it. There's really no camera movement.
You know what?
in that
That's true.
It's weird. Like, it's so weird. Like, there's no camera movement, and just go back and watch it. Both 1 and 2, the sequel. There's no camera movement at all. So like, don't let it overwhelm you, and don't concentrate so hard to a point where it's like gonna give you a heart attack or anything.
Right.
Yeah, these are just so that.
Definitely. Like, yeah.
Oh,
Absolutely. And you don't want to try to like see these movements and be like, oh, you know what? I'm gonna do my film and it's gonna be a dolly, but then it's gonna turn into a jib, but then it's gonna connect to a crane, and then it's gonna be an aerial shot. Like some people try to do that and they realize really quickly that it's very, very difficult. And the reason why it's not done that much is because of how difficult it is and how expensive it is, and how much coordination has to go on between the actors, the cameras, the camera department, the crew, sound, everything has to be in coordination to get it. So
Well,
yeah,
James got a
the main.
three-slab crane we can use.
what was that?
James got a three lab, a crane 3 lab we can use once he's on set. That means he got to get paid.
Yeah, he's already offering stuff. But I was just gonna say, like, the main purpose of us learning all of this, of course, for those that want to be cinematographer. Jesus, what is wrong with me?
It's okay.
Cinematographer.
Yo.
Thank you. It's not that hard a word. What the heck?
Cinematographer. I love that.
For those that want to be cinematographer, try saying that 10 times fast, okay? Don't
Feel
you might hit
comfortable.
me. But I was just gonna say, for those that want to be cinematographers, this is awesome. But also for those that don't, this is just good for you to know how much is going into a movie, for you to understand the set that you're on, what the shots that you're, if you're an actor, the shots that your director and your cinematographer might want you to be in, and what emotion they're trying to convey with it. All of these things, knowing a little bit of all of these aspects helps you become a better, in whatever part of the industry you want to be, just better, knowing a little bit of everything. We watched one of the first videos I actually disagreed with, because he was talking about like, if you don't want to do PA work, go and ask for like people you admire to shoot behind the scenes. I was like, yes, it's good to volunteer, and yes, it's good to work towards things you actually want to do, like filming and like stuff like that. But never think that a job is beneath you, or that, I don't want to do this because this isn't my area, because that will teach you so much. That will give you connections. That will make you understand better overall,
Yeah.
So,
Production assistants get thrown everywhere. So you'll probably learn a little bit of everything while you're on set, because
It's
wherever
fun,
they
too.
need you, they're going to put you.
See, I was a little annoyed by that comment, but I kind of understood what he was trying to say as well.
Hey, I'm new, obviously. I just dropped into California in the last month, but I'm just curious about the employment opportunity to get in. Is there a lot of movie scenes going on? I guess, I don't know, is it LA or Hollywood or this or that?
If you're in Cali, try to get work during the pilot season.
Which is when?
I'm not in L. I'm not in Cali, so you'd probably have to do more research into that as to how it is this year. But I'm pretty sure it was usually in the fall. I'm not entirely sure. I have to look it up.
I think it's in the
For
fall.
those of
Pilot
you,
season is where you can get like good work because they're looking for people to film pilots that they're going to try to sell to networks.
but also for
that's
those
a
of
great way
you
to get
that,
a PA gig or something, or
but also
Craigslist for
for
short
those
films
of,
and student films.
sorry, James, but also for
Excuse me,
those
can
of
I say pilot season in LA is from February and April.
Right.
So I was far off. God damn.
But every
I
year
also-
they change it a little bit. So just
Yeah.
keep looking, just do your research because every year they change it. And now with the pandemic, it might be a little off out of whack because not everything is not functioning the way it should due to the pandemic. So just keep doing research and keep looking because I'm sure this year things are opening up again. So everything, the dates are probably going to be all over the place.
But is
So
there
what-
a, is
what
there
I
a
was-
particular place to look, or some site, or
No. I mean, there's a couple of sites you can probably check out that are similar to Craigslist, but as
Yeah.
far as like, let me go apply to this job, it's kind of like a word of mouth.
Yeah.
Central
there's some
casting.
gigs.
Yeah, there's a lot of like Facebook
Casting,
groups that,
yeah.
that post some stuff, at least in our area. So I feel like in in LA, I know there's an LA Reddit that also does filmmaking LA, and it's I think that's what it's called. And they post some stuff sometimes about actors. There's also
Backstage.
different Facebook groups for actors.
I've seen a lot of stuff on like Craigslist. Like there's a lot of postings there. If you go under, like there's the stuff at the bottom, like gigs and all that stuff.
Yeah.
Like, you can click on a bunch of them and they'll have like different, like it'll be under a bunch of different labels, but they have a lot of stuff like
Check backstage too.
So after we talk about sheet list,
Call
shot
sheet,
list,
call
call
sheet.
sheet. Thank you. After we,
Oh my
goodness,
God.
I'm really dumb today. I don't know why. I studied all of this like 2 hours ago. I swear. Like I spent the entire day studying and yesterday, and like I don't know why I'm dumb. But
You're not dumb.
anyway.
You have your blonde moments.
All I'm saying
Nah, you're
is just like, yeah, all I'm saying is once we're done like talking about this, because we're also going to talk about this today. If we don't have time today, we will talk about it tomorrow. We are going to talk about the main websites for people to recruit actors and people looking for work. We will talk
Meeting
about
tomorrow again.
No, Monday. Monday will be the next meeting.
yeah, Monday is the next meeting. And if we can't cover that tonight, we'll probably cover that Monday. But yeah, so there will be resources. But what I was going to say is, apart from what everyone said, yes, Facebook groups and look at everything and don't give up immediately, but also don't be, if you feel like, oh, it's not working for me in LA, don't feel like you need to be stuck to LA. Just like people that don't live in LA and think, oh, I need to go to LA to make it big, because we know people that are cinematographers, that are DPs, and what they've told us is like, we're not discouraging people from working in LA, of course not, but what we're saying is over the years, a lot of other states with tax incentives and different stuff like that have opened up, and LA is very oversaturated in the sense that a lot of people unfortunately will take whatever for very cheap and will sometimes devalue the people that have a little more experience but can't charge as much because they're it's more competitive. So I'm not discouraging you, of course not. Like if you work hard and if you find a lucky break, because it's partially luck, let's be real, like it's not all some
I don't know.
things
I
are
think it's
just,
a lot of hard work too. Like it depends on how you come across.
no, I mean, like,
you
yes, but
are
opportunities
reaching out.
But there is partial luck, honey. There is like, yes, there's a lot of reaching out. Yes, there's a lot of hard work. But at the end of the day, if it's not working for you, don't feel like it's your fault completely. Like if you're doing everything, of course, not if you're just sitting on your butt and waiting for the opportunities to come and like, well, no one's hiring me. I posted it like 2 weeks ago and no, but if you're doing everything you can and it's still not working out, don't be discouraged. Maybe it's just oversaturated where you are. Maybe you have a different calling somewhere else. Maybe, That's all I mean. Like, I'm probably explaining it terribly because I
Okay.
don't want to like make it sound like I'm trash talking LA or anything. I'm not. I'm saying that don't feel stuck to that if you can't find it there, what you're looking for.
Who was the guy that asked about finding work? I just posted in the chat. Production Hub seems to be like, I haven't used it yet, but I hear a lot of things about it. So it's kind of like a mega Craigslist, but it's more geared towards film stuff.
You want me to post that in the WhatsApp group, Brian?
If you want to, go for
Production
it. I
Hub,
posted it
Chip?
in the chat. Production Hub.
Okay.
Check
Okay.
that out.
That sounds like
So-
a good idea, yeah.
Yeah, and also Monday, like we said, we'll probably delve more into that, the websites we found and the resources and stuff like that that might help the videos for finding actors, finding talent, that kind of thing.
Oh, and to add to what you just said, don't she was saying about, don't get discouraged. Also, don't be too like invest in yourself. Like if you got to spend a little bit of money in it, like if you feel that it's worth it, go for it. Like pay for that subscription to whatever it is you got to pay to get where you got to get to.
That's true.
Because that'll make a difference definitely that'll set you apart on your resume, because it's an oversaturated market. So the more, I've worked on this, even if it's a tiny thing, like there's a video that's also in the syllabus talking about like how to build your portfolio or shot list or whatever Brian said that I forgot the name of, list of stuff you've worked on. I am having a but yeah, so if you can just get like some friends or some volunteer work, we'll discuss it better Monday, so I don't want to go off topic, but just invest in yourself as much as you can that's feasible for you, and work your butt off and see where life takes you. If this is something you're passionate about, go for it. Don't give up on it.
Yep, like myself,
Yeah, I
I've
think
spent
just
about
like
$7,000
searching
on
out
my
and finding
gear.
this group and joining it, like that's already showing that you're interested and that you're wanting to learn this kind of stuff anyway. So it already shows initiative and everything like that. So it's good to continue to learn like this, and then trying to do hands-on work and trying to find those production assistant jobs or whatever you can, or working with some friends or family members or whatever you can do to start working. One person in one of the videos was saying like a good way to start is you have like maybe you wrote this really good thing and you want to film it, but you don't really know how to film yet. So you don't want to start filming it because it's probably not going to turn out anywhere near as good as you want it to. So what you want to do first is you want to write something a little easier, a little simpler, and then, or maybe just like a scene from the thing, like as a proof of concept, taking like a little piece of your main movie or your main short film or whatever it is, and filming it, and then practicing and seeing, oh, what did I do wrong? What can I improve on? Maybe you got a friend that helped as an actor just to get like your hands dirty, as in a sense, like just to actually get that experience and figure out how to start doing it. And then the next one, you try again, you get him to come back, you have your friend come back again. Hopefully you had a good perception on him to where he's not thinking you suck, and you were calm and you nice, and you guys worked well together. And you call him back, you do another one. This time you try to improve it, or you do another scene, and then you do another one, and then you do another one, and then eventually you're trying to get 2 or 3 friends, and then you're starting to see your work improve, and your friends are starting to see your work improve, and then it's time to move on and try to find an actor, like an actual actor that's trying to break into the business, or a non-union actor, and then you get them to come on your project because they've seen you have previous work now. You can show a reel like, oh, here's my last little short film we made. And they don't really judge that. They shouldn't judge that based on the acting because, that was one of your friends. They should judge it based on the lighting, the scene, the directing, all of that. And then you start to build a network and you start to show that you're working, you're actually doing stuff. And then it's easier to get those kind of the jobs and stuff like that and start building in more of a connection and network as well.
On that note, have you heard of anybody doing what you just described, but initiating it through the use of a cell phone initially? Camera angles, just getting the very crude, crude
You mean
storyline.
like filming on a phone?
Yeah, I'm just saying, getting the most basic feel for what you're trying to convey. And because, I mean, I don't know, these days, these phones can.
Yeah, there was actually a
That's what we were
story of
suggesting.
people that made an actual film. They made a whole entire feature film on an iPhone, and they won awards. And people then they've realized, oh, they were shot on an iPhone. Like, wow, that's crazy, because
Yeah.
they didn't even realize they shot on an iPhone because they just did it so well. So
Yeah, I'm just thinking in terms of initially, starting out that way, and then if you have enough resonance, the cameras and the people and everything will follow. But just to initially get out of the shell and start to.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely, yeah. I think like if you know how, what you want to shoot, or you want to portray a certain emotion or something, I feel like anybody can make anything good with whatever equipment they have, as long as they know the limitations of that piece of equipment they're using. Maybe your phone doesn't record well in dark areas. Okay, kick out dark areas for the scene. Make it something bright. Make it a daytime scene. Okay, now what? Maybe your phone doesn't do well when it's super up close or super far away. Okay, work around that. But as long as you know what you're doing, you know what you're going for, and you know the limitations, and you work around those limitations, I feel like anybody can make anything good with whatever kind of equipment they have.
Now, of course, for starting out, like we were talking about later on in the syllabus, we will have like little exercises where we will practice some of these shots with what we have, be it our phone, be it our camera, to like just as a fun experiment, like it'll be fun. But for learning, you can do that. In the future, of course, if you want a little more, like if you want to cast people, or if you want to make something a little more professional and unfortunately be taken more seriously, quote unquote, you will have to invest in at least a semi-good camera if you can. Now, don't invest if your iPhone takes a better picture than like a freaking what was it called, honey?
DSLR.
Yeah, certain DSLRs are.
Yeah, certain DSLRs.
iPhones have definitely surpassed certain DSLRs, like the lower end.
Like my phone surpasses my DSLR now.
Mm-hmm.
Seriously, Chisholm, you had. Oh, sorry. Go ahead. And
if you look up, you guys know a cinematographer named Philip Bloom. You can look him up on Facebook and follow him, and he's a really cool guy. Like, he'll respond to your comments and he'll give you advice. And he does a lot of videos on cameras and reviews, should I say. He'll do a lot of those. I just posted one too. He did with the new Sony phone that came out. So apparently that phone is geared.
The Xperia, the Z1 Mark III.
Yeah, it's geared for film.
God, it looks so good.
I know, right?
So expensive.
I have this blind YouTuber that I follow. She films everything on her Samsung because it helps, because of the accessibility features. So yeah, she films everything on that new Samsung.
Also, another resource. I know we kept talking about. We were just talking about how everyone doesn't just shut up about Roger Deakins, but
everyone. I mean, no, I'm kidding. Yeah, everyone.
He has a forum. You can actually contact him and ask him for advice directly on his forum, on his webpage. Like he will
respond.
Oftentimes interact with the community of young cinematographers who are still learning, and he'll give them advice and he'll talk to them and stuff on the website.
Chisholm, you had a question? You've been raising your hand forever.
Yeah, all these wait a second. All these shots that we're talking about, does it work in like movies that are like more like made at home movies, like movies like the Blair Witch Project or something like that, where it's it's more the movie is like it's just someone holding the camera. Like, do you get what I'm trying to say? I forgot.
No,
what
but
movie it was about.
that is kind of like found. It's called found
Oh
footage.
yeah, found footage. I don't know. Can these shots work in found footage? Because at the end of the day, I feel like found footage are kind of supposed to be stagnant shots because it's just honestly someone holding a camera.
Yeah, I feel like they tried not to look so pre-set up because they're trying to make it look more like you're in the moment, and it's also supposed to look like a home video in a way.
Yeah, that's just a style. Found footage is now just a style of film, pretty much.
There is a way you can use these shots. Like if you watch the movie Paranormal Activity, which is kind of like, you know, the crappy camera, but they're still using angles and they're still having like
Yeah, you can
setups.
technically, yeah, you really can.
That is true. There are some interesting shots in that movie, and it's mostly found footage and mostly just like looking like a
I feel
home
like there's
camera.
definitely ways you can do it. But if you're trying to get the found footage feel of somebody holding a camera, walking around, because I feel like it wasn't Paranormal Activity. He was supposed to like set it up in their bedroom or something like that.
Yeah,
there
he
was-
set it up in the bedroom.
There was Paranormal Activity, and another good one was the Cloverfield, or yeah, is that the movie?
I do. I think I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
So if you watch that movie, the cameraman actually had to, because they were so good at it and so experienced with camera work, they had to like train themselves not to be so good.
Imagine those bragging rights, them explaining
Yeah.
that to people.
Some of the people from Blair Witch Project was on Cloverfield.
Yeah.
Just some you wanted to keep. Yeah, you
But
had
that
something?
movie made a lot of people sick in the theaters.
Yeah, because of the way that
I
Just
was
so-
working at a theater at that time.
Did
Go
you
ahead.
have a question? You still
You had
raised
your
your
hand.
hand,
You
that's it.
still had your hand.
Oh,
raised?
oh, I forgot to put it down. My bad.
Oh, okay. Sorry. We thought you were still wanting to talk and we were cutting you off or something. But since we finish the camera movements, can we move on to the I don't
Yeah,
want
I
to
was
say
going to
wrong.
ask any other comments, questions, anything about camera movement, shots, angles? No. Okay. So then what else we were studying this week on top of the acting stuff, but we'll get into that on Monday.
And we're sorry to the people that only came for this and it's 11:13 because there were some people that were like only
It's
watching
only
those
8:14
videos.
out here in the West.
What was that?
It's only 8:14 out here in the West Coast.
Oh, that is true. Yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
we're not.
That is true.
not like you guys are 3 hours ahead of us.
Yeah.
He's apologizing for all the East Coasters that he's forcing to stay awake with him now.
Yeah.
Wait,
Not
8.
that
I don't go to
James
bed till like
cares, 'cause he's
12,
up
so
till
we're
4 in the
good.
morning.
I usually don't go.
He just
work at
complains.
3, but I'm
during this
exhausted.
pandemic.
Yeah.
James just likes to complain because he will like be up till 4 in the morning anyway.
Yeah.
All right. So
Don't call me out.
so our first film document is a production document that is going to be used every day of filming. It is called a call sheet. What it is?
Oh yeah. Mhm.
Yeah. What it is it's a form they use to show you where you're going to be and like where the location takes place of what they're filming, like where to park, what time to be there, and then it also goes into more detail about who needs to be there. All the actors need to be there, which actors are going to be there on that day, because each day you're going to have different shots you're shooting. It might be out of order for the story, but it's like if you're using the same location, if you're using a warehouse at the end and the beginning of your movie, you're most likely going to shoot that same those scenes within that a day or two, because you have that location and you only have it for a certain time most of the time. And this call sheet will have the address. It'll have let's see what else I got. It has the title of the movie or the graphic. If you already have like a picture of what the DVD cover or something like that is going to look like, you can put a graphic up here. It has
Or poster.
What was that?
Or poster.
Yeah, or a poster. It has the name of the production company up at top. It has, if you're working on episodes, if it's a TV show, you can have the episode title up here, top left. You have the shoot date. You have day blank of blank. So if you know you're going to be shooting for 7 days, which day is this? Is it going to be day 2 of 3 of shooting, day 3 or 4, etc. You have when meals are taking place, when breakfast and lunch is. If you're doing a really late one, you might have, if you're doing like a really long shoot day, you might do a dinner as well. And you just kind of add that below these. You have, if you have a craft services person, depending on how big your budget is or your production, you might have a craft services person. You give their information if somebody needs to contact them. This sheet goes through a bunch of that kind of stuff so that you have access to information that you might need if you get lost, if you can't find the set, you have the address on here, or you have a contact information. If you're like, I'm following the address and it's not bringing me to the location that you guys are at, you could call the producer.
But that said, you should read the whole thing every day. Don't just be like, oh, if I need to know this, I'll check it. Read through the whole thing.
Yeah. Like the first assistant director that was talking about it, they were saying like how before you do anything, make sure you read through it, because they don't want to have a call every 5 minutes from different people asking the questions that could be answered if they just looked through the call sheet for that day. So always look through it, know where you're going to be, know when your call time is. And then if you don't see something in there that you have a question about, you go and you find out if they have the producer's number. Sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. You usually don't want to contact them or the director. You're probably going to have a department head that you contact, and they'll have their contact information either up here or they'll have it down here with all these production notes. Like you might need to contact, if you're a second AC, you could contact the first AC, which is assistant camera. Or, if you're working as a production assistant, that you probably have the first AD, the assistant director, or the second assistant director. You could contact them and figure out what you need to figure out for if you have any questions like, hey, do I need to bring this? Do I need to wear that? Any question you have, you'll have all the contact information for each department head or each department figure in here. And it has, if you're doing an outside exterior shot, it also has when the sun comes up, when the sun sets, what the weather's going to be like in the morning, in the noon, and PM, so that if it's going to be rainy, you need to bring a rain jacket. If your crew, something like that, you'll know what to do and what to bring.
And props.
Good night, Yael. Have a great night.
Yeah, thanks for
Glad
coming.
you liked it.
Night, night. Can't wait to see you next week. Please come back next week. I hope I
Hey guys, I gotta go as well.
Okay, Bobby. Oh, thanks for coming.
Okay, I'll
Thanks
see you
for
guys
coming,
next week.
Bobby. Sorry we
Thank you
kept
guys.
so long.
Yeah, I
Have
should
a
probably
good
go
night.
too, son.
Oh no, you're good. You're good. I'm enjoying this so far, so we're good.
Yeah,
Colin,
and if any of you
wanna
guys
go
want
once
to,
we
you
stop
can watch the
recording,
rest
or-
of the recording. I'll probably post up tomorrow, and I'll let you guys know through WhatsApp.
Okay. Will it be accessible through WhatsApp, or how will we access it?
I'll send it through. It'll be on the YouTube channel if you.
Oh,
But he'll
okay.
send you the link
But
through
I'll
WhatsApp.
also send the link to everybody.
So there will be the update and the link.
Okay. Thank you guys.
Yep.
Okay, see you guys.
Good
I'm gonna go
night.
too.
Bye, Colin. I'm just glad you stayed so long.
I'm not busy tonight, which is, it's interesting. So yeah. See you guys.
Hey, Colin.
Bye,
You're not
have a
busy
good
tonight.
night.
You sure you don't want to stay?
No,
All right,
I
James
said
is
not
reading
busy,
his
but
script.
I still have something to do, but I'm not
Oh, Lamau, never mind. Go do.
You'll miss his amazing
I'm
script. It's okay.
I don't think I'm
I'll
really.
secretly
No, I am busy
record it
next
for
Monday,
you.
but I don't know. I won't be as busy over the next couple weeks, which is good.
Okay.
All
He'll
right,
send
Colin,
it to you
well, thanks for
privately.
coming.
You can cry in the fetal position by yourself.
Oh, it's not.
Okay, yeah.
It's
Bye,
not that
guys.
depressing,
See ya.
okay?
All right, bye,
Only a
Colin.
little.
Bye, Colin.
Bye.
In 10 minutes, I'm heading to sleep. So
Ay, qué drama.
All right, well, let me try to rush through this then. All right, so you got the weather, and that's for an exterior shot. You need to know what kind of weather to bring, not just for people to wear different kinds of clothes, like a rain suit or a coat if it's really cold, but you also
props as well.
have stuff for the equipment. If it is raining, you need to have some way to protect that equipment, and that helps all the department heads, all of the people that are bringing the equipment, the camera department. They all know They need to bring something, some kind of bag or umbrella or whatever to keep their equipment safe. So you have all that information. You have which scenes are taking place that day, what's being filmed, who needs to be there, which actors need to be there, and what time they need to be there. And they actually showed down here, let me zoom in. They have a few things that I didn't know until I heard it today.
Hey, Lakota, don't forget props. Sometimes they'll put props on there. Sometimes they'll say makeup specifications as well.
Yep. So like under the special instructions, they might say that that specific character, like you said,
Like-
a prop needs
Like for
a
Priscilla's
necklace,
movie, bring
button.
the dildo for two if we're filming Priscilla's movie.
Yeah.
Honey, we got newbies. They don't know what you're talking about. For those of you that are very confused and possibly uncomfortable, last semester we had a script exercise where it's kind of like the 24-hour film project. We were each given a genre, a prop, and a line of dialogue.
Yeah, this
And
is her excuse, by the way.
before we decided it was all going to be PG, because our intelligent brains only thought of that later. I got a family-friendly film, PG, family flick, that had a dildo as a prop, and the line of dialogue was, "I'm sorry, I can't," or something.
I'm
It was
trying,
something,
I'm trying, but I can't.
Yeah, I'm trying, but I can't. It's not as dirty as you think. I think I did a decent job with it. It's on the Facebook if you guys want to check it out.
This is her little white lie.
But, yeah. So, yeah.
But yeah,
Just
all right,
some
that
context.
kind of explains that for you, everybody. They on the call sheet, when you're setting up your scenes and you're showing which characters, each character is going to be assigned a number. So your main character will probably be number one would be whoever the main character is, and then maybe her name's Lucy. So 1, 5, 6, you show which characters you need by their number, and down here it'll show what that number means. These will be the cast. So if it's like number 6 is Tom. Oh, sorry, no, that would be his real name. And then character's name would be Tom. And basically you just show like, okay, up here is number 6. They're needed in scene 1. And then you would put set would be whatever is in the script. It would have like interior, living room. And then you just do a little description of what's happening in the scene. Tom sits alone on the couch. And so then you just say like, okay, this is character number 6. He's in the scene number 1. That's what we're shooting that day. Is it a D or N? That be day or night? Show which scene it is. I'm gonna say day. You show, I don't know, why is it doing that? Pages, you're showing how many pages you're gonna be shooting that day, or how many pages that scene has in it. Let's say that only is 1/8. You do pages through 1/8. Why is it doing January?
Because it's January, apparently.
I think it's just because it was like, oh, you're trying to do a date. All right. So let's say that scene takes 1 1/8 pages. And every time you do a scene breakdown, which we'll learn later, but just to go over quickly, you break down a scene page into 8s. And that's like I think it says like 11 lines. They do that to have a better accuracy of how long it's going to take to shoot. So instead of saying like a page and a half, they would say a page and 3/8 or a page and 5/8, because that's going to be a little bit more or a little bit less to shoot. Then you have location and notes, so that you would give the location of the scene, and you'd have any special notes like bring the dildo. Like,
Ay.
yes.
Seriously, you couldn't think of anything else?
No. And then down here, you're going to have the actual character, the guy's name, let's say his name is Clancy Thomas. So Clancy Thomas' character is Tom.
Really? Clancy?
I don't know. I'm just thinking real quick. Then you have SWHF, and they explain this to be SW means they start work. So if this is going to be their first day on set, they would have an SW, and that means they're starting their work with the production. If this character is only in this one scene and he's never seen again, then he's going to be SWF, which means start work, finish. So they start their work that day and they also finish that day. If this is their last scene and they've been working on set for more than one day, you will do WF for work finished. So this is their last day, the last scene they need to do, and then they're done with the project. H is they're not on set, but they're on hold. They're going to be used in a future call sheet day, but you're not using them for that specific day. And then,
Oh, honey, sorry, I spaced out for a minute. I was putting something in the oven. Did you mention the part where on the bottom, each person's, well, not each person, but like the main crew and stuff's individual times for arriving will be, and sometimes it will differ from the time up top?
not yet. I was going to get to that when I was going down.
Oh, so sorry. Sorry.
No, you're good.
I didn't know how far you were.
No, yeah, you're good. I'm like right underneath the scenes. So I'm showing like the characters and everything.
Oh, okay. I thought you were breaking down like the whole thing first. I mean, showing the whole thing first and then breaking it down. That's why.
Oh, okay. No, I'm good.
Hey guys, I'm sorry for interrupting, but I have to run.
Okay.
But
okay, no problem.
I'll check the site and I'll most likely be back Monday to join.
Awesome.
Great. We hope this was helpful for you. Sorry if
no, it was fun. It was really fun.
Cool. We're glad.
But I'll let you carry on, but have a good night.
All right.
You
Yeah,
too. Good night. See you Monday.
See you next week.
Bye.
Okay, bye-bye.
Yeah, bye. All right. MU is makeup, and that would be what time the actor needs to be there to get into makeup. If it's going to be a special effects scene, or if they're going to have like blood or a scar on their face, you're probably going to want to put them in makeup maybe like an hour before they actually need to be on set, or more, depending on how in depth.
You should always go over with your makeup artist before you assume that.
Yeah, but
you would always talk to your department heads before like trying to guess what kind of time to do. But you'd be like, hey, do you think an hour, 2 hours? How long do you need to apply this alien makeup all over her face and hands?
Because that was one of the main things.
4 hours for that? Okay. And then you'd figure out a time slot to put them in.
Because that was one of the things he mentioned as well. Like one of the main things was don't overbook your crew. Don't have them there more than they need to, because most likely it's going to be a long day. There's going to be a lot to do. So work out how long it's going to take for them to do each thing and have them in the appropriate time that they need to be. Also,
for instance, to that extent, like over here on this side, if you had the actress or the actor coming in at 9 a.m., then you're not really going to need the makeup artist to get there at 8 a.m. because they probably don't need an hour to set up. Of course, like Daniel said, you talk to them. Maybe they do need to set up for some reason, or they need to acquire something or whatever. So maybe they do need to get there an hour early.
Honey, as a girl, I will tell you, it does take around an hour.
No,
for most.
To put the makeup on, but for them to set up for the actress, waiting for them to come in.
Yeah, because sometimes they'll have to set up chairs, they'll set up lights.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So it depends, like on how long that's why you would talk to them, but most of the time they probably don't need too long to get everything set up and ready for the actress or the actor.
Although then again, I'm blind. Like most of you girls thinking over there, like I only take 15 minutes. Like lucky you.
No, I know one girl that takes like 3 hours. So
that makes me feel better. All right.
I'm not kidding. That was my ex.
You can keep going, honey.
I fell asleep on her couch one time waiting.
She got cake face.
Yeah,
But yeah, okay, so
put in a-
MU, you would put whatever time you need them to come in, if it's different from the call time. If everyone's coming in at 8, and this guy doesn't really need too much, I'll say he comes in at 7:30 a.m. He's gonna come in at 7:30, get his makeup done, and then he should be on set by 8:15. So everyone else is arriving at 8. He should be on set by 8:15. Of course, it'd probably be something different. Actors and talent usually arrive a little later than everyone else because everyone else has to set up lights, cameras, all of that, and the actor needs to be on the set at a certain time. So if they don't need too much makeup, you'll probably have them coming in later. But it's just an idea.
You don't want to waste the time.
Exactly. And then the minor thing is just if they're under 18.
Especially because they're probably the ones you'll be paying the most. So
Yeah, maybe. Most likely.
Yeah,
I mean, I don't know. I could be wrong.
Every actor has a different setup. So like some actors get paid by the hour, some are under contract and get a single. So like what they'll do is they'll like, let's say Denzel Washington, you get Denzel Washington, but you negotiate an hourly setup with him. So what you'll do is you'll hire a stand-in. You'll get him somebody that's his complexion. He'll sit in, they'll get the lighting set up, then Denzel will show up, he'll get a makeup, and then lights, camera, action to kind of cut time from him having to have a trailer and when he can just show up and get it out the way.
And to that, there's also they also try sometimes to, if they sometimes use the stand-in when it's like not directly on them. If it's like an over the shoulder, they'll sometimes use the stand-in to just stand there and do that so that they don't need Denzel there the whole time. So that they can save money in that way, like you said.
Correct.
So it just depends. But yeah, and then they just have any special instructions. I guess that that would be like if they did need that alien makeup, you'd probably want to put that there just to keep note of it and have like everyone else know what's going on, or just any other special instructions that need to be said about that actor or the character. And lower here you go to production notes, which are kind of the same thing. You can say like whatever kind of notes you need, like certain lighting setups, if you need extra time for some kind of special effect, if you need some kind of equipment, if you're going to need or like no cell phones or whatever you want to say, you can put it down there in the production note.
And COVID restrictions and stuff.
Yep, especially recently, COVID restrictions would be on here. Like nobody can be this close to each other. Always wear your mask. Blah 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 blah.
Bye, Sarah. Have a good night. At some point after the meeting, you let us know how your stunt work is going. I was curious.
Bye, Sarah. Thanks for coming.
Bye-bye, Sarah.
Okay then.
All right. Sorry, honey. Keep going, because I just want to say bye. Not be rude.
And then down here, we're talking about what Priscilla was talking about earlier. This is like the camera operator and the director of photography. You say who they are, what's their phone number. Some of the people, like the heads of the departments, especially if you get in a larger production, you're probably not going to want to share their information because you don't want people contacting Roger Deakins. If Roger Deakins is your director of photography, you're not going to put his phone number on here. But if they're okay with it, then yeah, you put their phone number. You put so that if they're missing or if somebody needs to contact them for any reason, they can just look at their call sheet and they'll have all these departments, all these heads and all these.
Usually only the director and producer has call sheet with the numbers.
Okay.
Well, that's interesting because I feel like it must vary because I was hearing from a few saying that they do have at least the numbers of people they can call for like emergencies or people they can call like to know certain information, like if they can't understand the map or
usually usually they put the AD's number or basically AD is usually the one that goes on the call sheet.
Mm-hmm.
Just in
but
case
the other numbers you're saying is just for the director and stuff.
Yeah, just for the director, they usually keep track of that stuff.
Gotcha.
Yeah, so they'll probably have more information available too, depending on what level and what level of the production you are in. like the director and the producer at the top will probably have everybody's phone number on it because they need to, if they are missing, they need to reach out to them. But for the lower people, they'll probably have a different version that redacts all that information.
Like when I worked on Night in the Museum, I had 2 different types of call sheets. I had one the producers because they just gave it to me because I lost mine.
Oh, and then you got everybody's number.
Yeah, I got everyone's number. I didn't do anything with it. I stayed professional.
Yeah.
Like even like had some of the celebrities' numbers on there too.
I mean, you're lucky they didn't kick you off the shoot for that. I've heard that some people.
No, the
Oh,
director
producer gave it to him.
No, I know, but I'm saying he's lucky they give him another call sheet because he lost his. Because I've heard some people are so strict that they're like, "Oh, that shows you're not responsible by." Like,
Well, mine got destroyed.
Okay.
Oh, then you had like a really good excuse. Okay.
Yeah, I was keep on getting sneezed on by Robin Williams.
Oh yeah.
All right, sorry, honey. Go ahead.
Yeah. So, and then like she was saying earlier, that's where this part says in, you would put what time. If they have to come in at a different time than the general call time, which would be 9 a.m. on this sheet, you would put a different call time for them. If it's a very difficult shot, you might want your camera crew to arrive an hour or 2 hours, however, earlier than everyone else, just so they can really set it up and really get to know the location and whatever else they need to get that shot or the series of shots. So you'd put their time as something else, like 8 a.m. So now the director of photography is arriving at 8 a.m. Well, I wrote that wrong, but you get what I'm saying.
No, we don't. You expect us to know everything.
And then I think this is just a different version. Oh, and also call sheets, sometimes they look different. This one's a different version.
What I was going to mention is that what I've also heard is that I don't think every call sheet, but I have heard that some will have the explanations underneath of what the abbreviations mean, like MU, and abbreviations like that. They will have like the third page or a part of a page explaining what all those abbreviations mean, so you can read the shot list better.
So if I were to make a call sheet, I would probably combine some elements of both of these, because I'm already noticing on this side, even though it's set up differently, I don't really like the setup of this one as much. I like this one a lot more. But I do like that they have, when their first shot is supposed to be, they have the breakfast, they have the crew call. So everybody needs to be there at 8, but they don't have their first shot until 9. So that gives you like an idea of how they might set it up. But it also has like camera wrap, like when they're expecting the day to be done based on the amount of shots and the difficulty of those shots.
And also usually they wrap 1 hour early, just to have that time to wrap up. So they'll say, like, if it ends at 11 o'clock, they'll put 10 o'clock.
Okay. So the camera wrap, so what would the camera wrap and the crew wrap difference be?
Basically, usually for like camera and stuff, it's usually about an hour earlier.
Okay.
Sometimes 2. And basically, director is on till the end of the night, like the end of the day.
Right.
I heard one guy joke and say that like you should try putting an hour before you actually think you're gonna rap, because that way if you rap early, everyone's gonna love you.
That too, yeah. You always act like, oh, it's gonna take till 8, but then if we're actually done at 7, everybody's a little more happy because they were expecting to be done at 8.
Yeah. Another thing that I don't know if you mentioned, when it comes to putting hospitals in there, they did make it very clear that you should make sure that it's a hospital that is 24-hour urgent care, that kind of thing, not just a hospital for you to get a checkup or whatever, in case of emergency.
Aren't all hospitals 24 hours?
No, I mean like
not all of them have an emergency
clinics,
room.
certain clinics, they're only 9 to 5 or 9 to 6.
Clinics. That's a clinic.
Right. So they're just saying, like, make sure that the hospital you're looking at isn't is like an actual emergency hospital that's 24 hours.
Yeah, because sometimes it'll just have like women's hospital and it'll just be like women's care in different clinics and stuff like that, and it won't have urgent care, emergency care,
Yeah.
that kind of thing.
So they just said, be sure that when you are putting that hospital, you know that it's a 24-hour one and it's the closest one to whatever the location of the shooting day location is. And that's just for emergency purposes, of course. Hopefully you don't actually need to use it, but then it's there in case anything goes wrong. They also
And
have,
of course, always sign this is for next week. Always sign contracts so they can't sue you if you know.
yeah, yep. A lot of the people are like, you need to make sure you sign contracts with everyone. First of all, just to make sure that they actually come back and don't just drop out. And also that if anything happens to them, you're not held liable and sued.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you could probably still be sued, but then you have more.
Yeah, you have more of a security in that.
Yeah.
Technically, it wasn't my fault. I had all the things ready. She was being irresponsible by dancing around or something.
Yeah. All right. And then also in this one that I didn't see in the other one is the parking, which is like sometimes you'll be shooting in a city location and you'll need, or inside of a building that doesn't have any parking around it. So you'll need to put the parking location and where they're able to park. What if it's like across the street or whatever the address is, you put the parking location there too so that they know where to go park. So they're not calling you at 6 a.m., 7 a.m. or whenever they're trying to get there being like, hey, there's no parking here. What do I do? Other than that, I feel like this is kind of the same as the other one. Let me see. If there's anything. One thing that wasn't on either one was they also sometimes put advanced schedule, which would be not that day's shoot. Oh, sorry, advanced shoot, which would be the next day's shooting schedule. And
It
that
would be
would
the
give
first
everyone
few
kind of a
shots.
preview. Huh?
What would be the first few shots, including the call time?
Okay, yep. And they put that at the bottom of the sheet, and that's just for everyone to preview for like what's happening tomorrow. Just a quick view, right? Like that way they have it, and that can change, so they don't put too much into it usually, because they usually have like if you're able to wrap early, they might just go ahead and acquire that shot that they were going to shoot tomorrow, and then they're going to change that. So don't always go by what's on the bottom of your sheet. You always want to make sure to get the new call sheet for the next day at the end of the day.
And also sometimes if they skip shots too from that following day, they'll put them on there too.
Oh yeah, like adding it to there if it was longer than they expected, then
if like let's say they missed a close up of a Fred there, and it's like, okay, we'll do this tomorrow.
So V asked, what about having insurance on set? I've seen some with that on call sheets. Having that on call sheets.
I didn't really hear anything about the insurance information on a call sheet. I've
never heard that either.
Like you'll have the hospital information, you'll have the
AD's information.
Probably could. It's probably somewhere.
I've never seen it on a call sheet.
Maybe in a more like
it might be like like here you go. On the back there could be like, firemen if you want to have if there's a fire hazard or if you're
because I have heard of insurance in one of our lists.
So it would be on the back of the sheet with all the people. Like all the departments have stuff like production, and then there's electric, and you'll probably have somewhere safety or police, firemen. So that way, I'm sure insurance, if you wanted to add it, even if it's not on like these.
They're saying if they have it because if you're in an emergency, you go to their policy number.
Whoa,
what the heck was that? That was weird.
What?
Yeah, I didn't touch anything. I don't know why that. I'm sorry, guys.
Hold on. What if they have it? Because if you're in an emergency, you'd go and give the policy number. I don't know. I think that would probably. I mean, you could probably add it somewhere, especially like right here. You could just do something like this, and then.
Yeah. Brian, is there anything you had in like your experience that isn't on here that you would think, or what is your experience with insurance? I guess.
Insurance, and then put the person, and then write their information.
I really didn't have.
All right, bye, Mel. I'm saying bye anyway.
Like most people, I mean, you can have that in there if you got the money for it. I say go for it. But with call sheets, you can kind of configure them to whatever you want it to. but I would assume insurance would go on with, you guys would discuss that when you guys discuss taxes and the I-95s and whatnot.
Okay.
Mm,
So
gotcha.
yeah, so if you did want to add it, you could, but it's I didn't really hear anything about it being on any of these. It might be on a separate form too.
Oh yeah, there might be a separate form for it since it's, a whole other
Because
legal thing.
Ryan, if the people did get hurt, they wouldn't really be the ones to give out that information, right? It would be if they were under insurance policy.
If
What?
an
What was that?
insurance policy, I would
It
assume
went
that you
it
would
went
put-
underwater again.
Oh, like if you're gonna put actors and crew under insurance policies, I guess you would have that information kind of like if you got into an accident with your own car, you're gonna need the policy numbers and stuff like that. So I can understand why you would put it on there for those purposes.
Mm-hmm.
Like if you got involved into an accident offset somewhere and you needed that insurance policy for some reason.
Right. Okay.
I don't think that works for offset.
Well, you get what I'm saying.
Yeah, I get what you're saying.
Not offset, but
Because I feel like if it happened on set, it could also be, if it's that big of a production, it's probably somebody has that information that, like the production coordinator or whoever,
AD.
that will discuss it with whoever arrives to take them off set or bring them to the hospital or whatever they need, whether it's an ambulance or somebody's driving them there for something.
Maybe that's just something in US, non-Canada.
What?
The whole.
Oh yeah, you guys have universal healthcare.
It's not the greatest. It's pretty terrible.
I still have it too. Socialized healthcare doesn't work that well. But let's not go.
Politics. No politics.
Yeah, let's not go there.
All right.
Sure,
Does
it's
anybody
better
have any
than being
questions
said, though.
about the call sheet at all? I think that's pretty much everything that was on here. And the only thing that's missing I see is like the advanced days and stuff. I was thinking that maybe we could have everybody fill out a call sheet based on a fake day of shooting. Make up a shooting day and just fill it out so you get familiar with like where the stuff goes and what
Hey,
information.
Sarah's back.
Hey, yeah, whoa.
So basically, what we're talking about, Sarah, we were finishing up talking about call sheets, and we're talking about an exercise where we would fill one out.
Oh yeah, we just did that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah,
Sarah and I.
Yeah.
Oh,
cool.
I built it myself too. So it's
Cool.
still
So you're already ahead on the exercise. You can already send yours when we're talking about it.
No, we can't send that one. It's part of a production.
Yeah.
Okay, well, change the names and change the times and do your thing.
Well, I could
And it's
send
kind of
my
PG.
blank. My blank
Yeah,
my
use a blank sheet and do a thing with it.
Yeah.
The template. Yeah. Okay, cool. Yeah, but that was the something I just thought everyone, like for these film forums, I think it's good for everybody kind of.
Oh, sorry, honey. V talked about allergies. Yes, that is something someone mentioned as well. Having the allergies of yes, you did, and also someone in the videos having the allergies of people on the list as well, so people know, especially people who are going to work in the craft part of it, to know what kind of food they can bring and that kind of thing. So yeah, there will be a list of that, but it is separate. It's part of the production.
Allergy like that, and then just I don't know if you put it here or exactly where you'd put it, but
that's the thing. What I saw was like
I think you put it next to the name of your character and next to the.
But even right now, because of the pandemic, that can change.
Yeah.
Because right now, most people are just ordering food in, so it's like that's give or take there.
Yeah, so I feel like it depends a lot. The call sheet, what's on it, what's not. It depends a lot on the scale. It depends a lot on
the world.
The world, the food you guys are having, where you guys are getting the food from, that kind of thing. Someone said, no, don't do pizza because that's amateur hour or something. I'm like, it's really weird.
All right, Madeline, have a good day. Good night.
Thank you. Good night, Madeline.
Thanks for coming.
See you on Monday.
Yeah, I feel like with the makeup allergies and stuff, that would be something that would be discussed with the makeup department beforehand, and it would be they would already understand that. So I don't know if you would probably still put it somewhere, maybe, but I don't think the call sheet's more for everybody's general knowledge. And I feel like if you have certain things like that, you would make sure that the department head of makeup and whoever's doing their makeup know they can't have this kind of makeup because they're going to break out or they're going to
Yeah, they should have their own separate call sheet with that stuff on it, if anything.
Yeah.
I've seen that happen.
So I think I think it depends on the person who the call sheet is given, like, and they're going to be working with or for. I think the information will vary, like Daniel said.
Yeah. But yeah, so I'll send these out. I think that's all for the call sheet if nobody has any other questions. And okay. So I'll just go over what we're going to go over this next week. So working with actors, this week, me and Priscilla are still going through this, but we're going to be looking at how to find actors, how to set up a casting call, and how to audition actors. We'll discuss all that on Monday. So if you guys have any free time over the weekend, or on Monday before 9 p.m. Eastern, if you could look this stuff up and just kind of get an idea.
Watch
And
the videos,
especially
take
like to talk
notes,
to
see
people
what
like
is
Sarah,
different.
and if any of the other actors in our group are able to come in and they know a little bit about this, I would like to hear what they have to say, if they agree, if they disagree, what their take on it is, because I'd like to have both perspectives. And people like Brian who have had actors probably held a bunch of auditions and stuff like that. To
Daniel as well, yeah.
On Monday. Daniel, yes, as well.
Mm-hmm.
Daniel, Brian, James, everybody who's actually auditioned actors or set up a casting call or something like that, to give their input. And if they feel like anything's missing or anything was added that they've never heard of before or something like that. So we'll discuss all that stuff on Monday. We're also going to be discussing basic camera details on Monday. So let's go to cinematography real quick.
Sounds good.
Basic camera details like ISO, aperture, shutter speed, and lens. Well, I don't think I did lenses on this week.
The stuff that makes my head spin.
The stuff that makes the image what it is. It's used in photography and it's used in cinematography and videography, cinematography, and just pictures photography.
Is it just me, but you're starting to sound like a robot?
Me?
Yeah.
Oh, am I starting to sound like a robot to everyone?
No more than usual. I'm kidding.
You might sound a little tired, but you know, it'd be like that. We're all human.
Oh, is that what he means? Like I'm sounding like it? I thought he meant like my audio sounded like it.
Yeah, your audio sounded like a robot a little bit.
Oh, okay. It's like it might be tinny. It might be your connection, Daniel.
No.
Yeah, because
sometimes yours will come off like that too. Like
yeah.
No, I get that a little bit, but like it's just a Zoom thing. I get that over phone calls
Yeah,
too.
you have a little bit of a vibrating tone, yeah.
Okay, so yeah, ISO, aperture, focus, lenses, and white balance. I know a few people were asking about white balance when we were talking about it earlier. We're going to learn about that next week, and then we're going to discuss it in more depth. And all these things go together to make the image what it is, to have that something be in focus that you want to have in focus, or how fast you want to show it. Do you want it to have any motion blur? That'll be with your shutter speed. ISO is how bright it is within the camera itself. Aperture is how small or large the hole is where the light's coming through, and that'll have an effect on both the background and how bright the scene is. And different lenses affect it a bunch as well, and we'll learn about all that and discuss it. And then there's also the first assistant camera position and the second assistant camera position.
Which we did cover a little bit last semester and we'll be delving deeper into this semester.
Yes, so that's the stuff we're going to be focusing on cinematography. We'll be talking about all that. And then for the film documents, we already discussed this and went through like a preliminary script breakdown in the last semester. This one again is going to be another preliminary breakdown at first. And once we start getting ahead in everything else, we're going to go ahead and go through and do a full script breakdown. After we have the shooting schedule and the storyboard and all that, we're going to see, okay, what is the entire script breakdown we need? So we'll learn about a preliminary script breakdown and lastly, a shooting schedule form. I think we're going to be studying that stuff. Script breakdown, first assistant camera and second assistant camera we'll talk about on next Thursday. Basic camera details like the lenses, the ISO, aperture, shutter speed, and white balance, as well as auditioning actors and finding actors we'll talk about on Monday.
So yeah, guys, it's a lot. And I'm almost
Yeah, like I said,
envious.
there's a lot to cover in this semester and it's very intensive, but it's a lot of you need to know this stuff if you want, especially if you're trying to make your own content. It's really a lot that you need to know. So, what's that noise?
I don't know.
Sounds like a printer.
It does sound like a printer. Anyway, does anybody have any questions about any of this or any comments?
No.
Not at the moment. Yeah, no, I'm excited to delve more into it. I'd like a little bit of knowledge on, like I've heard about ISO and kind of things, but the more you delve into it and actually use it and do it is when it really starts to click in.
Yeah, exactly. The more you learn about it too, is I feel like you start noticing it more, and then you start like really like Brent was
Like I
doing
said, it
during
makes
all
me
of the
feel like an
camera angles and
idiot.
everything. What?
Like I said, it makes my brain hurt, makes me feel stupid.
No, it's just there's a lot. It's very overwhelming at first, but once you start,
Honey, you're still recording, by the way.
huh?
You're still recording.
Oh yeah, I can stop.
You might want to end it now. Like, oh, 3 hours of recording. Yikes. For those that come in.
Yeah. So anyway, yeah, it's a lot. It's very overwhelming at first, but once you start doing it more and you learn more about it, you start learning it and breaking it down and learning each thing.
It's actually kind of fun.
Yeah, it is, and it shows how interesting it all can be, and how it all kind of comes together and the final product.
Don't get me wrong.